What is up, people? What's going on? What's happening with y'all? How y'all doing? I'm good. I'm good. Mostly. I was gonna be productive yesterday and today, and then I wasn't. As typical. Typical non-fun. Ugh. Gotta play some fucking Tradle. $4 billion, and it's mostly gold and a little bit of oil. I'm gonna say Chad. I feel like it's a country in Africa. A little bit of cars though. I'm gonna guess Chad. I feel like Chad would have more oil, so it might be like Rwanda or something. I'm gonna guess Rwanda. Nah. Okay. Is it gonna be this? 6,000 kilometers. It's gotta be like in fucking Asia then, right? Brunei. Does Brunei have a lot of gold? It's not a very big country. Huh. Am I thinking of the wrong? Am I thinking Brunei somewhere else? I might be thinking Brunei somewhere else. I don't know. I'm thinking of a country next to fucking Nepal. Uh, but maybe that's fucking another country to search with B. Oh, that's Bhutan, isn't it? Where's Brunei? Fuck, I messed up. Should I just guess that? What's up, vegan? React to this?
Sneak peek.
What the fuck? I'm gonna get a copy strike for this. This is a fucking song.
I want to be ninja.
Oh, yeah. I've in fact seen this meme, believe it or not. Sometime in the past 4 years, I have in fact heard that soundbite. Poor Asian lady. Is this from a show? I Want to Be Ninja the movie. Now on YouTube free with ads. What the fuck? This is a whole as a movie? That I'm gonna copy strike just for looking at 5 frames of? Incredible. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna guess. A bunch of fucking gold. It's gotta be. Look, I don't know any countries that export gold that aren't in Africa, but I don't think it's in Africa because it's fucking 6,000 kilometers away from Rwanda, which makes me think it's and it's northeast. The UAE wouldn't like export gold and shit. Yemen would have a bunch of fucking oil, wouldn't it? Yeah. Um, is it gonna be one? It's gonna be one of the fucking stans, isn't it? I bet it's. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to guess which one. Oh no. Yeah. Wow. Thanks, Shobin. Welcome. Which one is right above Tajikistan? Oh, I don't know. Turkmenistan. I'm gonna hope it's Turkmenistan. Easiest game of my life. Knew it the whole time. I was just throwing for some content. Obviously. Did I should have guessed it was one of the stans from the beginning. Goddamn. Surely someone else is playing Export Hold'em. Someone hop in Export Hold'em right now. God damn it. Insulated wire. I'm gonna. I don't know actually. I feel like China's probably the safest guess. Yeah. Rubber tires. It could be. I feel like it could be Canada or it could be Japan. I'm gonna guess Japan. Yeah, hell yeah. Electricity? I don't know. It's gotta be probably Canada. France? Ah, fuck you. Electrical control boards. That's gotta be. Oh, I don't know actually. Fuck. Maybe South Africa? Maybe Australia? You guess Australia? Canada. Fuck you. Fuck. Cherry. Isn't cherries fucking. I feel like I've had cherries before. It's Sierra Leone, right? That's Australia. God fucking damn it. Oh, I'm so screwed. Oh, it's so over. It's so over. I don't think I can come back from this. Industrial printers. I don't know. I'm gonna guess South Africa. Ireland. Kill me. I'm gonna hope it's Chile. God damn it. Dude, there's literally no way. Can it mercy rule me? There's no way I can win. There's literally no way. Probably Ireland. Fuck. Whatever. Okay, pick five. No, this one for sure though. This one for sure. Tissue. I'm a big tissue enthusiast, so I definitely know every country that exports that. I'm gonna guess China. Okay, number 4. Indonesia. Okay, apparently that's a good guess. Okay, apparently they're number 1. Like I said, big tissue enthusiast. You know me. Um, Vietnam. Okay, 14. Okay. Who else would export fucking tissues, bro? I feel like Germany would. Well, I'm gonna guess Germany, but I feel like it's probably not Germany. Okay, number 5. Not bad. Not bad. I don't know who else would do it. China, Indonesia. Oh, Bangladesh probably. Bangladesh number 53. Goddamn, never mind. Turkey. I probably could have guessed Turkey. Italy, China, Germany. Okay. Okay. Not that bad. Okay. Okay. Not that bad. All right. Bangladesh apparently was a bad guess, but everything else is good. Okay. Anyway, did you hear they're gonna fire Powell? I haven't seen anything other than Trump just continuing to complain about him. I saw like True Social. Trump just said like, "Oh, inflation." Why did it automatically go to that? Uh, it went to Peter Navarro's article. Dude, this article's insane. From Anna, uh, Paulina Luna. I don't even know. I feel like I've heard that. I definitely have heard that name. I don't remember who that is though. By the way, this article. I feel like I talked about this when it first came out. This article's insane. By the way, I think Powell is competing to be the worst Fed chair in history, and for some reason he starts with Greenspan when like you can like look look at the Fed prior to 1990s. There were definitely some worse Fed chairs out there. Okay, but she's a congresswoman. Oh boy. Hearing Powell is getting fired from a very serious source. Start to as an organization. True, let's go. I mean, I saw people tweeting about this, and I think I agree. I think I saw Scotland Income say this as well. That like realistically probably benefits Trump more to keep Powell around and just have someone to blame than it does to like actually try to like fire him. What's up, Alcer? Because like Powell is the chair of the FOMC, but the FOMC they vote, right? So like it's not like even if you put in someone you really like as the chairman, you don't get total control over the FOMC or anything. So even if Trump fired Powell and got a person he liked in charge, it's not like that would actually necessarily lead to his desired outcome. And like it's kind of easy just to have the person there to blame, especially because if you got rid of Powell and then you didn't see the economy do super well, right? If you got rid of Powell and saw more inflation, then certainly would look worse on Trump, right? He doesn't have anyone to blame. He literally put his own person in charge. But I don't really know if Trump thinks that way or not. So, yo, go to the K. Non-fun for president. This is true.
Non-fun for president.
I'll be an awesome president. Okay. Thanks for the sub 10x. I know. Well, I mean, it's they resubscribe. Wait, did you subscribe for 10 months or did you resubscribe for? I'm bad at Twitch. It's just saying you've subscribed 10 times in a row, right? Could have gifted me 1 month for real. Which is still goated. Okay. Still goated. Copeland, okay. Obviously goated, okay. One of the OG non-fun fans, okay. Either way, 10x sub. Greatly appreciated. Where's my shrimp welfare? True. What do you think the brunt of the tariffs is going to take effect? Do you think he's going to push it after the midterms? I really don't know. It's hard for me to predict what. I was watching non-fun before non-world school. That's true. That is true. Very true. It's really hard for me to know what Trump is thinking. I don't know. I don't know. We did get a CPI. Did we get it earlier today? My days are messed up because these girls are messed up. We got it earlier today, right? Or was it yesterday by now? Which showed it was like 2.7%, and part of that was like an increase in goods prices for the first time in 2 years or something. So not fun as another 15 coming his way if he's actually based. I gotta read the book. Listen, I keep getting distracted by other books. No offense, but by the way, I was skimming through. See how easily I get distracted? Do you see that there? I was skimming through this the fucking don't let average debater enjoyer get you real. I was skimming through Henry George's book on free trade, and this book seems to hold up like really well for a book written in fucking 1886. Like, obviously, he's not gonna have any of the data that I like seeing, but oh my god, does it? It has some good fucking stuff in it. Like I haven't even checked this chapter out yet, but I bet it's going to talk about basically linear symmetry. Brian Kaplan tweeted about that book today. Yeah, that's what made me like download it because I had heard that quote before. Obviously, the protectionism teaches to do us in time of peace what our enemies seek to do us in time of war. I've heard that quote before. I didn't know it was like actually a full as book before though. So I saw it and I was like, I should check this book out. And it seems to be really good. Regardless, colon cancer rising, is it? What the fuck? CPI was like 2.7% year over year. And a lot for the first time in I think it's a few years. I think it's basically been 2 years since we saw the price of goods increase. Typically, they've been decreasing for the last little bit. I saw the fucking Ernie dude. I think he has his data comparing import prices with their pre-tariff trend versus their after-tariff trend, and with the new CPI data we have, we can clearly see seems to be something happening here. I would a world's strongest man, and then I will take on the vegans. Maybe another adjective there. And we'll be eating 40k calories of straight plain chicken a day. Based. Yeah, like core commodities. By the way, oh my god. Let's go to YouTube to watch Jason. I don't know who that guy is. Statham quotes? Oh, isn't that a fucking actor? I don't know if I want to. Bro thinks I know things. I don't know things. By the way, I'm going insane. Dude, this is insane. Dude, this shit is insane. The textile industry has long been an important facet of our economy. First of all, no. What is your definition of long? I checked back on Fred. The data only goes back to like 1990. But there were like less than 500,000 fucking employees in textiles in the U.S. Like, what are we like? I guess the very first month, okay, that we have data, or the first two, all right, we have above 500,000 employees, okay. Then after that, it's under 500,000. This like the textile industry, I looked this up too. It was like 0.57% of GDP in 1990, and it's like 0.12% now. So, and that's obvious. It should be obvious to anyone with an ounce of understanding about the world that the textile industry is not going to be important in it basically any developed economy, right? Like countries don't develop by strategic textile. Well, actually, you can argue maybe they develop by strategic textile fucking investment and things like that. But developed countries are not rich because of their textile industry. They're rich because of their service, their service industry and their financial industries and the high value added manufacturing. Like, wouldn't a job be more income beneficial compared to begging? What do you? Okay, what's the relevance? Wouldn't a job be more income beneficial compared to begging? I'm not sure if I understand your question, but okay. This is why GDP going up is bad. That's true. That's true. If GDP went down, we'd see the textile industry be a higher percentage for. But we're fucking America. Oh, donation versus getting a job, not that hard to get. But you have to consider, I'm lazy and I prefer to do this instead. Okay. I prefer to beg. Okay. Prefer to be whiny little beggar boy. I mean, I could get a job. I'm just I don't actually need, I don't strictly need the money. I just enjoy having money so I can spend it on stuff like subscriptions to a bunch of people's Substacks, which are bankrupting me. So if you are on Medicare, you would be kicked off in a month because you can't work 20 hours a month. Isn't it isn't it? I think it's 80 hours a month, right? It's the new work requirements or whatever. But I mean, sure, buddy, I guess. I mean, like I said, it probably would not be that hard for me to go get a job. I agree with you. I just I prefer, I am a student. I do college. Depends if you have a disability. Well, that's true. But the new work requirements are 80 hours a month that are going into effect in 2027 from the big beautiful bill, because of course. But I mean, I don't have to worry about being in Medicaid if we do exclamation point TTS in a chat. Get some donations here. But okay, anyway, why the fuck are we America? Arguably the richest country in the world. I guess it probably depends how you measure it, but highest median income, we're not the highest GDP per capita, but one of the highest GDPs per capita. In a lot of countries that have higher GDP per capita are cheating a little bit with the way that they have, like Ireland, their tax haven. So it creates a lot of misleading data there. Why are we having meetings with the Treasury Secretary and the head of some textile organization? This is insane to me. This is, I don't know, playing with textiles seems pretty fun. That's true. We considered. The playing with textiles is manly, okay? Textile job is manly. Right? Or it's when they realized that the people they're kicked out of Medicaid are 50-year-old guys too worn out to be keeping up manly jobs and not 20-year-old gamers of their parents' health insurance. That's true. That's true. Believe it or not, okay, the majority of people that Medicaid work requirements kick off are not people like me, who's not on Medicaid anyway. But in fact, I mean, obviously the reason I don't have a job is because my family is rich enough to afford for me not to have a job. So you're never gonna get me off you're never gonna get people like me off of Medicaid, okay? But anyway, and again, I'm not on Medicaid, but this is fucking insane to me. This is fucking even if you it's so wild to me that I don't want to use the term central planning because I don't think this is actual hardcore central planning, but we basically are trying to like centrally plan our way to like a dominant textile industry. Like what the fuck are we do? Like what are we doing? Like what are we doing? Like what crack is fucking Steve? Sorry, not Steve. Scott Peasant smoking. What are we doing? I watched a documentary about men in prison making quilts for orphans. I mean, hey, okay, this is the solution. Okay, you know they say, oh, who are you gonna get to work these textile jobs? Okay, no one wants to work these types of jobs. They're dangerous. They don't pay well. You know, the real solution, prison work. Okay, we just give it all to the prisoners. All right, we have solved it. We've solved it, Tron. Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we? Also, yeah, this is funny. The fact that Trump, like, previously said, we're not going to be making t shirts. We're going to be making fucking tanks and tech products.
Military equipment, we want to make big things. We want to do the AI thing with the computers. But the textile, you know, I'm not looking to make t shirts to be.
What are we doing? What are we doing? Thank you, Doge AI. We're super sweet and the man were like big muscular prison dudes and they were being so passionate about it based. Prove strategic manufacturing isn't just possible, it's driving. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act slashed $1.6 trillion in bureaucratic bloat while reducing funds to domestic production. Redirecting funds to domestic production, securing 471,000 jobs. Very curious how they got that number, and 64 billion in annual output. This is slightly more believable. She says confirmed. Confirmed. Is she the only one saying this? I feel like something else would have had to leak, but maybe not. I want to understand what he's doing. Should have had at least 2 rate cuts so far this year. Oh, she's 99% sure. A serious social indicates maybe Trump talked to her. Yeah, but Trump says a lot of things, okay? Where's the school walkout meme? Save Jerome Powell, school walkout. I need to read more about monetary policy. Oh, it's a lot of work. Oh, it's so much work. Oh, it doesn't make sense. Oh, it makes my brain hurt. Yeah. I saw this on Twitter, but like my instinct was number one, is Jerome Powell even in charge of this shit? Like I understand he's chairman of the Fed, but like does that place him in charge of the renovations to the headquarters? I feel like that'd be someone who has a more like administrative role, but you know, Walter Powell last week accusing the Fed chair of mismanaging the central bank. He said a multiple discrepancies between Powell's testimony to Congress about the renovations and the apparent change overall. I guess he might be in charge of them if he's testifying in front of Congress. Trump recently appointed Deputy Chief of Staff James Blair to the National Capital Planning Commission. Blair's indicated he will use his position on the commission to look into whether Powell ran afoul of the law of the renovation. Powell's asked the Inspector General of the Central Bank to review the renovations. What even what I saw like the accusation was like, oh, the like renovations are over budget and behind schedule. Which is like that's true of like any government agency, like that's true of any government project ever. Like I almost guarantee you could find like any you could look at any department and find something of this sort. Um, but why the fuck is Powell even like in charge of that? And I don't know what's the wording of the Federal Reserve Act. I think doesn't it say it says like for good cause, right? Which I don't know. Um, I don't know if this counts as good cause, but I also don't have confidence that the courts would would side with me on that. Renovation project was approved by the board in 2017. It originally cost 1.9 billion. Also, have we heard of Deja Fox? No, I don't think I have. Also, just why are we? If there's any, probably the department agency that we should be least concerned about spending too much money on in renovations is the one that literally prints money. Like if we're gonna oh no, it's $1 billion over, but motherfucker, they print $1 billion every second. Why do we who like the least? But whatever. Anyway, the Fed's renovation project was approved 2017. Originally cost 1.9 billion in 2019. Construction began in 2021, but the cost fell to 2.5 billion because of unforeseen conditions requiring more spending to rectify, such as more asbestos than anticipated. This seems like a totally reasonable thing. It is true of any. This is true of any construction project ever. It doesn't even have to be a government project. What are we doing? I remember Trump said he wants negative before he wants negative interest rates. Dude, let's go. Dude, let's go. Dude, I hope so. Dude, bring the zero interest rate era back, okay? Let's do it. Yeah, let's get negative. What do you think will happen if Trump sets negative interest rates like he wants? I'm not super qualified to answer that. I mean, I would imagine more inflation. I would imagine people would lose confidence in the U.S. A lot of foreign investors would sell even more U.S. bonds than they're already selling. Yeah, I mean that's that those would be the two big things I'd be concerned about is inflation and a loss of confidence. Which, by the way, would probably lead to higher inflation expectations, and that's a vicious cycle. And the negative interest rates that the people who hold bonds pay us. Well, no, it's just that I mean, you get paid to banks essentially are paid to loan to each other, right? That'd be the implication of a negative federal funds rate, right? It'd be like having a negative interest rate on your credit card, kind of. But the federal funds rate, which does affect other interest rates, it's just the banks or the rate at which other banks lend to overnight, right? Oh, is there a poly market thing for? Let's see. Does poly market think it'll actually happen? Uh oh. It's still only at 22%. Okay, that's 1 in 5. Okay, so that's more than I would like. Not that much though. You dream of working at a regional Fed? I mean, I think if I got my econ degree, I would like to work at either the regional Fed or the Actual Fed, yeah. Wouldn't that make an infinite money glitch? What, the negative interest rates? I mean that's kind of the point, is for them to be an infinite money glitch. Can he fire the Fed chairs? I forget all the regulations. I don't even think technically I think like the FOMC, it's not even like made in the Federal Reserve Act, so it's very questionable what authority Trump has over it. The Supreme Court let Trump? Oh, well, yeah. I mean, no, yeah. Don't worry, the Supreme Court destroyed other independent agencies. When they did that, no reason, they said, when they did that for no reason, they said the Fed doesn't fall into that category. Okay. I believe, you have to have cause to fire them. Though the president and Senate played a decisive role in shaping the board of governors, they played no role in picking a president. Where's the fire? Fire Powell, from which position he holds three. He's a member of the board of governors, appointed by the president, confirmed by the Senate. Chair of the board of governors, separately appointed by the president and confirmed by the Senate, and chair of the FOMC by vote of the members of that committee. To remove a member from the board of governors, the president has to have a cause, to quote the statute, a term the courts have historically interpreted as requiring inefficiency, neglected duty, or malfeasance in office, which is like really saying like an over budget construction project is going to be that shit, but whatever. Policy differences are probably not enough justification, but the Supreme Court could ultimately decide that question differently. If it did, that would represent one of the biggest changes in administrative law in the U.S. in 80 years, so don't count on it. Statute says nothing, however, about whether the president can fire the board chair, effectively demoting him just to one of the other governors. Other presidents have concluded that they lack the authority, and there's good reason to think they were right. But we don't know. It's legally uncertain. What happens if he removes him board chair? Powell could resign his governorship and go quietly tonight, or he could sue to get legal charity status, which hopefully Powell would do. I believe Powell. I have faith in Powell, and he would probably do that. From the way he was talking, no. Not legally, not permissible under the law, right? I think he would probably sue. Powell's lawsuit would be a very important one. Courts cannot hear just any conflict. The plaintiffs in the case must stop standing to sue a defendant. The many would-be plaintiffs who have tried to sue to challenge the Fed's governance structure in the past have all been batted down because they didn't have the right kind of grievance that could be redressed at the right time by the court's decision. Powell would be different. He has a legitimate interest in keeping his job, which gives him standing to sue. I remember the Humphreys executor case, I know. Watched the legal Eagle video about the Institute of Peace. Is that related to this? I don't know how much I... Oh, down to 21. Okay, we're getting better. Okay, let's go. It's not they invaded a private building by threatening the security company that they would cancel all contracts with that security kind of company if they didn't let them in a building. Base, okay. What's up, Metro? What do you think of Trump encouraging Zelensky to strike Moscow? Base. Now the Eastern European pussy. Okay, finally got to him. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Is identical to the Fed. Okay. I mean, maybe then. Dude, finally we have the deep state agent. Okay, Melania Trump finally exercising a power to, get Trump to support Ukraine again.
Doge went to war against peace. The Institute of Peace, that is. Yes, somehow Doge and the federal government went to war against the Institute of Peace, and they brought armed police officers. Yes, Doge brought guns to a peace fight. You might have heard that in February, President Trump issued an executive order directing the dismantling of the 40-year-old Institute of Peace, which had been created during the Cold War to prevent war and promote nonviolent conflict resolution around the world. But the Institute pointed to the law that created it, which specifies that the Institute is an independent nonprofit organization, not an executive agency, and thus isn't under President Trump's authority. Doge heard these arguments and decided to move forward with a hostile takeover anyway. Literally a
Isn't the Fed a little more complicated than that even?
hostile takeover with guns. And on March 17th, with the help of armed officers from 3 law enforcement agencies and 1 private security contractor, Doge staged a dramatic physical invasion of the Institute of Peace's privately owned headquarters, the building in Washington, D.C. This culminated in the ousting of the Institute's leadership, the takeover of the organization's computer systems, and the takedown of the Institute's website. And of course, yet another lawsuit against the Trump administration. I'd like to come up with a pithy metaphor, but when you physically take over the Institute of Peace with armed law enforcement officers, I got nothing. But how did we get here? Well, in 1984, the United States Congress established the Institute of Peace to, quote, promote international peace and the resolution of conflicts among the nations and peoples of the world without recourse to violence. The act that established the Institute stated explicitly that the Institute is an independent, non-profit national institute. Now, over the past 40 years, the Institute has provided research, analysis, and training in diplomacy, mediation, and other peace-building measures. It has been on the ground in Iraq,
They
Afghanistan,
probably just unplugged a central
Pakistan,
money
Pakistan,
printer
Colombia,
base.
and the Philippines.
That's in fucking New York, though,
For
isn't
example,
it?
the Institute helped to reduce sectarian violence by conducting mediations between Sunni and Shia factions, imams from local mosques, militia leaders, and tribal chieftains. And when Congress created the Institute, it included several provisions designed to ensure the Institute's independence. First, Congress instructed that the Institute was to be run by a 15-member board, which would include 3 ex officio board members, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense, and the President of the National Defense University, as well as 12 individuals selected by the President with the advice and consent of the Senate. The board must be politically balanced. No more than 8 members of the board can be from the same political party, and board members have specified terms and can only be removed by the President under the following narrow circumstances. 1, in consultation with the board for conviction of a felony, malfeasance in office,
Okay, probably is the same
persistent
then,
neglect
okay.
of duties or inability to discharge duties, or 2, upon the recommendation of 8 voting members of the board, or 3, upon
Someone
the
get
recommendation
Jay
of a
Powell
majority
a
of the members of
gun.
the
We
Committee on
need it. We
Foreign
need the armed
Affairs
guards for
and
him,
the Committee
bro.
on Education and Labor.
Everyone in the FOMC, okay, needs fucking 24/7 security.
Of the House of Representatives,
Security,
and the majority of the members of the Committee on Foreign Relations
surveillance,
and the Committee on
okay,
Labor
we
and
need-
Human Resources of the Senate. Now, provisions like these are
we
often
need
known as 4 cause
bodyguards.
provisions because they mean that the person can only be removed if certain causal conditions are met. Most agency heads in the executive branch serve at the pleasure of the President and can be dismissed for any reason whenever the President decides to remove them. But employees who are appointed under a 4 cause provision, though, have additional protections and can only be dismissed by the President if certain requirements are met. Usually this involves misconduct or serious legal activities. These 4 cause removal provisions are designed to ensure that some employees are sheltered from partisan political whims and able to fulfill their statutory duties, which often involves some kind of oversight or independent action. Now, despite or maybe because of its mission of peace, the Institute has long been in the political crosshairs. In 2011, with a little help from Republican Congressman Jason Chaffetz and Democratic Congressman Anthony Weiner, Republican Representative Chip Kravac introduced an amendment to cut all funding to the Institute, claiming
Is your kick title updated? Probably. No, it's not. Fuck. Yeah, I think Restream messed up.
that the Institute's programs could be replicated by several other agencies, including USAID, another agency that has recently been dismantled by the Trump administration. But the Institute's importance was defended by numerous public policy experts and military leaders, including General Anthony Zinni, who served as a special envoy under both George W. Bush and Donald Trump, and said, the quote, Congress would be hard-pressed to find an agency that does more with less, and the quote, the idea that eliminating the United States Institute of Peace would benefit taxpayers is extremely short-sighted and ill-informed. America deserves better from Congress than eliminating something that saves American lives and taxpayer dollars. And he cited numerous instances where the Institute's personnel had real impacts in conflict resolution and violence reduction. President George W. Bush also proclaimed the importance of the Institute's work at the 2008 groundbreaking for the building Doge would later break into. And in fact, there were reports that the physical takeover of the building was simply because the building looks really cool. But he said, quote, the work of democratic development is a great cause of our time, and we shouldn't shy away from it. And we must be confident in our ability to help others realize the blessings of freedom. My big concern is that the United States becomes isolationist and nervous. We don't support those values that have stood the test of time. The Institute of Peace, I hope, will make sure that never happens. More recently, though, the Institute was the subject of a report by the Heritage Foundation, the same organization that spearheaded Project 2025, which we talked about at length in several of our videos. In a September 2024 Heritage Foundation report, the foundation urged Congress to defund the Institute of Peace based on the organization's supposed political bias and mission creep. And the Heritage Foundation offered a few examples of what it considered mission creep, stating, quote, in 2012, the USIP broadened its mission again to include interpersonal violence, with programs to end sexual violence during wars and internal conflicts, and in 2013 conducted a symposium on men, peace, and security that sought to encourage non-violent notions of masculinity in societies affected by violent conflict. Now, defunding an organization through a lawful act of Congress like Heritage had recommended, though, would require the president to work with Congress. That would be totally legal. Congress could choose to defund an institute that it had previously decided to fund. But only Congress can decide that, since Congress alone has constitutionally delegated power to spend funds. And that's the kind of thing that happens in ordinary times. But we're not in ordinary times.
By the way, I should have made a bet with O'Connor Boy if Powell gets fired or not, because I think O'Connor Boy, I talked to him about this like 6 months ago or something, was like saying, oh, I just really doubt that they'll ever like actually touch the Fed. That's something that like both sides, agree to like not ever touch it.
So instead of asking Congress to defund the Institute, Peace. On February 19, 2025, President Trump signed Executive Order 14217 titled Commencing the Reduction of Federal Bureaucracy, which recommended that the non-statutory components and functions of the Institute of Peace be limited to the maximum extent consistent with applicable law. But different people have a different definition of maximum extent consistent with applicable law. So armed with this executive order, Doge did what it does best, executing a chaotic and possibly illegal takeover. Now, after President Trump issued his executive order mandating the dismantling of the Institute of Peace, Doge wasted no time in moving in for the kill. The very next day, Representative Doge contacted the Institute. The Institute leadership agreed to hold a virtual meeting with Doge several days later. In that meeting, representatives for the Institute
How much money did you get from Twitter? 0. I'm not monetized on Twitter. Okay, care more about what the actual court ruled. When did they get to that?
USIP was not part of the executive branch. Quote, instead, USIP supports largely because of the complexity of legal issues, Judge Howell declined to grant the Institute's request for a restraining order. While she expressed deep disapproval of Doge's heavy-handed tactics, Judge Howell didn't feel like the Institute met the high standard for TRO. Specifically, she wasn't sure that the Institute had made a legally sufficient showing that the Trump administration lacked authority to fire the board members and the Institute.
Fired, you mean disappeared.
So while Judge Howell's order wasn't a victory for the plaintiffs, it wasn't a permanent defeat either. And this also highlights how extraordinary it is that judges keep issuing TROs against the Trump administration in other cases. It's a very, very high bar. Judges don't take it lightly.
I think nowadays Heritage Foundation advocates ending military aid for Israel in the near future. They might just because they hate all military aid. I mean, the Heritage Foundation definitely does, respond to I don't want to say constituents, but public opinion on the right, which is now shifting against Israel. I think the Heritage Foundation still has like up, by the way, like an article saying like, oh, tariffs are never like never good. But they've moved on that a little bit.
And the Trump administration keeps getting enjoined. But here, once Judge Howell had the opportunity to consider the full case on the merits, she issued a sweeping injunction reinstating the board members and repudiating everything Doge did. Because remember, a TRO has a very, very high burden. It's emergency relief that's only temporary. A permanent injunction, while it takes longer to brief and to get the court up to speed, has a different standard. And Judge Howell ruled that the Trump administration's actions, quote, represented a gross usurpation of power and a way of conducting government affairs that unnecessarily traumatized the committed leadership and employees of USIP who deserve better. Now, the judge first determined that USIP was not part of the executive branch. Quote, instead, USIP supports both the executive and legislative branches as an independent think tank that carries out its own international peace research, education and training, and information services. As an independent entity exercising inconsequential.
What do they say about the Fed? What the Heritage Foundation? The Heritage Foundation, I believe, thinks that we should go back to a gold standard. I believe that's what they think, but I don't know for sure. I remember the Project 125 has a few different options, but I think they say gold standard and free banking. Like returning us to gold standard, elimination of Federal Reserve's dual mandate, replace focus solely on price stability. Reduce the limit Federal Reserve purchases of financial assets, including federal debt and mortgage-backed securities, limiting the Federal Reserve's lender last resort function, which offers loans to banks near collapse, exploring alternatives to the Federal Reserve System, including the elimination of Federal Reserve and implementation of free banking. I'm just saying, if you're ever gonna bet someone's gonna be fired, you also need to include, disappeared or mysterious death reported. That's true. That's right. I guess, yeah. Are you pro free banking? Probably not. I don't know enough to say either way, but probably not. There's a full as report. Okay, I guess it's made up. Never mind then. Oh, they might email it to you. Remember, that's what they do. Project 2025. You have to sign up for their fucking email to get it. How would the postal service work? How would the postal service being turned into a bank work? I don't know. Why would that? See, I don't know what that question means at all. Oh, what's up?
Yo.
I think it's picture game time.
I think it might be picture
we
game
can do
time.
that in a bit.
Every time you
How long is a
tell me
bit?
to go play picture game, we're always unilaterally imposing it upon non-fun. I noticed.
Yeah,
Wanna-
that's the way to do it. His stream is chillin. He's fundraising for himself and he's gooning.
That's
There is
cool.
no
I need
greater
it.
Twitch title.
My
Then picture
computer
game.
bricked and I have a new one. I need to sign to my Twitch so I can give my government mandated shekels to non-fun.
That's true. That's true.
Yes. He would take it. Non-fun would take them. All right, non-fun ETA for picture game.
We can do one round now, and then like in a fucking hour or something.
All right, let's crush this round. We're gonna get 5,000 points.
This is going to be the most blessed round. Yeah, we're going to get a perfect score now.
Are we doing
Because
time
you said we
guesser
only
or
have
the
one round.
other, or the?
This is the
I think
most
time guesser was
blessed
what we were on
round.
before, right?
Yeah.
We played time
This is
guessing. We
just picture. You
played
gotta guess the time.
everything.
No timer, obviously, because we're getting a perfect.
True. Okay. Is this
Oh,
All right.
That's the
All
Golden
right.
Gate Bridge
This is
under
not
construction.
the-
when were
it's
they
not the Golden
building
Gate
the
Bridge.
Golden Gate Bridge?
The 20s, I think.
No,
Wait,
this
what?
is-
Ain't no way. This is
Actually,
not the
this
Golden
kinda
Gate
looks
Bridge,
like-
bro.
It's not. That's not the Golden
This is
Bridge.
not the
that's
It's
Golden
like
Gate
it's
Bridge.
Is this in New York?
This
I
is
feel like
the,
it might be like
Is this the Brooklyn Bridge? No. No, this doesn't look like the-
Karsten
What
Company.
the hell is this?
Cole.
If we could know what bridge it is, we would just think when it was built.
It's definitely the 30s, though. It's got to be the 30s.
The 30s? No way. This is earlier than the 30s. 20s, I'd say, would be a good guess. Maybe even earlier.
It's got to be. It's got to be
I don't know.
New York.
I feel like it is New York, but I could also see it being.
It does look like a borough. Wait,
Where's Catherine? Catherine Ferry.
Catherine Ferry?
They didn't even spell Catherine right. Unreal. There's an E. There's an
This
extra
must
E
be
in
New
there.
York.
But I really
Why
don't
do I feel like
know.
that we're gonna get so cooked? This is gonna be like Chicago or something. We're gonna be really embarrassed.
Probably not that bridge. Can you see a car? No, there aren't any. Well,
Yeah. That.
I guess
Oh
there's-
Oh, those are carts. They
Yeah,
don't
this
even
ain't
have
the
carts.
30s. It's
They're-
well, they might have carts. It just may not
Pulling
be so
shit around.
widespread that everybody. It just might not be like popularized yet. You know, this has got to be like the 10s or 20s. Yeah,
They're manually pulling their luggage around.
dude.
bet it's this bridge.
It's got to be
Yeah,
one.
I'm
It's
gonna-
got to be a bridge somewhere.
I'll do
Guaranteed, it's a
1920
bridge somewhere.
in New York.
I don't think this is the Williamsburg Bridge. Maybe.
Oh,
11
nice.
years
Oh,
old,
what
yeah.
bridge was it?
Damn.
The
next bridge
the
over.
Brooklyn Bridge, yeah, damn.
It was the Brooklyn Bridge. Yo, I should have fucking locked in on that. I should have locked in.
Well, that would have given us 50 more points. We lost 3,000.
I love
because
Grok. As a
time
gooner, I
was
love
off.
Grok's companion. mode.
1909. Really?
Yep.
Deducted that many?
Okay.
Okay, this is like
that's
some
like
Dutch
Dutch
stuff.
function.
This is like.
Yeah,
This
that-
is a little hard to tell.
it's like almost. It's almost English.
yeah.
It's not German.
Oh,
That's Japan.
it's America. This
know.
is Japan.
I
this
can't-
is
I can't
UK,
tell
and I
what-
can't tell what the other
I
flags
can't tell,
are.
yeah, what any of these three are, which is annoying because it's definitely
It's
this is
definitely like
not.
Belgium or
Yeah. Okay, this guy's on a horse, but there is like an actual car
It looks like
back here.
Dutch, doesn't it? Doesn't
Yeah,
that
Dutch
sign
is
look
the,
like Dutch?
it's the almost English language.
Yeah, yeah.
And Word van Liefde. That's
It's
Dutch
that
for
language that they put in
sure.
front of Monty Python's Holy Grail.
Okay, what year? It's gotta be
I'm
like.
gonna say Amsterdam.
I feel like somewhere in the Netherlands or.
Amsterdam and like this might be the 30s because there's more vehicles around. Maybe
You
later
know
than
what?
the
I
30s,
bet
even
actually.
40s maybe.
I bet it's Brussels.
Go Brussels.
Well, no, because if it's in Belgium, Brussels mostly speaks French, so this isn't going to be Brussels. It's going to be like a
Brussels
Dutch
speaks
part
French.
of Belgium, which I don't even know what the Dutch parts are. I just know Brussels isn't really a super Dutch area.
The only thing I know is that if Kat is here, he knows that I ain't.
I would
learning
say
that
Amsterdam,
fucking
yeah.
language.
I
I'm
kind
gonna
of
go
thought
Amsterdam
that,
on this
but
one.
I don't.
The time I would say between like
I
the
don't really think so.
40s and 50s, maybe. Wait, what? There's a Harlem in Amsterdam with an extra A? They really are just copying our shit.
Surely.
Not you.
Let's see it. 72? It's in black and
Ooh.
white.
Yeah. Goddamn.
It was Amsterdam though. I was right about Amsterdam.
God, we are sucking on the The times, boys.
Okay, there's not much here. Fucking tell it
What the
left,
hell?
okay?
What the hell, Jan?
This is like.
This looks
like the
almost AI generated, but it's not. That big molecule just looks so out of place.
It's a carbon or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no clue.
This one's got
Tony
me
Stark's-
stumped.
It's Tony Stark's dad's thingy.
Those ski lifts, the way that those ski lifts are designed, this does look like super like 50s kind of thing. But then again, I don't know. I just thought the last one was in the 50s and it was in the 70s.
I mean, it's probably 50s,
The look.
but I don't really. It's
It's the
kind of hard
atomic
to.
age, the 50s or 60s.
It's the atomic age. They were just putting big molecules and like carbons everywhere.
And it's like
It's kinda-
this looks cool, guys.
This looks cool.
Kind of hard to tell where it
Tell-
is,
tell it.
considering it could be like an art installation, like anywhere. Like,
We're
Yeah.
fucked. Boys, we're fucked.
I want to
This-
say it's in America. I
it
don't
could
know.
be. I have
This
no
one's
clue,
rough.
though.
They're all wearing hats. I really like their hats.
The middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, that way we get.
That'll be 50-50.
Min-maxing.
Dude, I have no clue. I feel it, dude. It's
Las Vegas or Los Angeles? No. Well, maybe
feel
I
like
don't know.
it's
Do they have
probably-
like
I
ski
feel like it's
resorts
probably
in
here. I feel
California?
like it's. I'm gonna guess the middle of Germany.
Maybe
Straight
it's
middle of
maybe it's
Germany.
Europe.
Middle of Germany.
Oh, that wasn't even that bad. Okay.
Oh
This was in fucking Brussels.
That was pretty
Yeah.
good.
Atomium. Oh, see,
the
I was
le-
better with atomic age at least. I had that going
Yeah.
for us.
I wonder.
This
Oh
must
shit!
be
This was like
China.
yesterday.
This
Oh wait, yeah.
China-
This is this is the
yesterday in
fucking China
where they have all
knockoff
their
of.
fake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was
Yeah,
20
they
minutes
have all
ago
the-
in Xinjiang province. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where it is in
They
China,
got all
but
the knockoff monuments.
yeah, they
Put
have
it
like
somewhere
a
on the East Coast.
they have like a Statue of Liberty. They have the Eiffel Tower. They have a bunch of like fake shit. That's awesome. I don't really know where it is in
That's
China
awesome.
though.
Somewhere on the East Coast. That's
Well,
where
if it was the
90%
Las
of the
Vegas
Chinese are.
equivalent, it would be like Macau, but that doesn't look like Macau.
How old is this phone? That's an iPhone.
You guys know
Do you think it's
Macau brings in
2022?
more.
It's not 2022. It has to be pre-COVID or well after they dropped regulations.
That's true. That's a good point.
Nobody's
Yeah.
wearing masks.
They got a fucking. This is the iPhone 6.
That lady's wearing a Kanken.
So it's
Do
gotta
you
be.
think she's single?
Like 2016. I'm gonna guess
Do you
not.
think she's single?
Do you think that girl's single? How can I get her info?
Well, I'm guessing this. 2016. Damn.
1 year off.
Japan.
Japan's the fucking knockoff.
Oh, damn, bro. We just pissed off everybody in Japan.
Whatever, they deserve it.
Well, this is complicated.
It doesn't help that they have like every EU flag in the fucking thing, yeah. Boy,
Well, I mean that's.
boy.
Oh, but that's.
That's some Slav. Oh,
Yeah, I think it's. I think it's.
fuck.
Oh fuck. Super sale.
Super sale. It's It's in America. It's a super sale.
This is no way.
It's an.
Oh, Apotec.
Like-
That's got to be in Germany.
Maybe
If they're using like if they're using the more ingrained signs in German.
First
But
of
it could
all,
just be.
these
it could
flags
just
do
be-
seem like the type of flags that Germany would care about. We got like a lot of.
Well, yeah, it's
There
got to be
are
somewhere in
flags
Europe.
there.
We got a bunch of Ukrainian flags. We've got like the Latvian, Lithuanian, Estonian flag.
Race
probably
hostility
Germany.
to people.
I don't see anyone with like a phone. I can't really tell what.
We
year
need
it
cat. We need
is.
cat here to
Have they invented
zoom,
phones yet?
zoom in on those 4 and let cat determine where they're from. Cat, where are these people from?
Dude, this guy looks sick as fuck.
That
What
guy
the
looks
hell?
dripped. Yeah, that guy's drippy as hell. Bracelet and watch. Let's go.
Wait, scroll up a little
Poland.
bit for me. A little bit higher, a little
What do
bit
you want?
higher. Scroll up a little
Store and Litten. That sounds
that's
pretty
it.
German.
That's a freaking French word that I see. God, why do they have every language here?
What's a French word?
Foreign. The on the white sign to the right of Apotek.
Dude, yeah,
It like
I
I
AIDS,
see.
can't.
AIDS Jew or whatever it is.
AIDS Jew. It is German.
AIDS Jew. No, there's too many different languages all in the same area.
I mean, even if it is French, no, this has got to be Germany. No one in France gives a fuck about Estonia. Why they got the Estonian
True.
flag up there? Come on.
What year is it, do you think?
I'd say 2010s, somewhere in the 2010s. Before this looks pre-COVID.
Well, it's definitely pre-COVID, but I feel like I would see someone with a phone. I don't see anyone with a phone.
Well, what if it's
though.
like Denmark? What
Dude,
if
it
it's
could
like
be like
Denmark,
it could be like
'cause
any
they're
fucking
way
country
more
in Eastern Europe,
socially
man.
liberal.
Denmark's
Oh, tax-free! It's
close.
fucking Denmark.
Maybe
dude.
it's Denmark.
Dude, it's got to be.
Is it?
I think it might be Denmark. Tax-free?
Tax-free.
What is Denmark
Why wouldn't
known
that be
for?
Denmark?
I don't know. I don't know if.
High taxes.
Okay. Has to be post 2022 if there's Ukrainian flags. No,
I mean, it's
shot.
still pretty
it's-
close to Germany too. It's a
That's
good
a lot of
hedge.
fucking Ukrainian flags. Oh, it could be. It could
That's
be
true. For
2014
that many
when the
Ukrainian
initial-
flags, that's a good point, actually.
What if
That
it
is a good point.
wasn't
To
the-
be
One of
repping the
these-
Ukraine that
initial-
hard,
Motherfuckers would have a phone. Okay.
they
I mean, are
do
these
be
people
repping.
tall? Are there any tall white people around?
I mean, maybe that guy.
That would give us the race investigation clues we need.
Okay, fuck it.
We should play race
God,
guesser
all
next.
the EU, all the EU flags.
Sweden. In
Oh, what was it?
1998.
It was wait. Oh,
Sweden.
Sweden. Close enough.
Sweden,
Close
not
enough.
Denmark.
Danes and the Swedes.
98.
33,000.
1998? Why were they fucking all freaking out about Ukraine in 1998?
I don't know.
Did
Well, I mean,
something
they probably-
happen?
They
I
foresaw
don't
the
remember.
future.
I don't think so. But
Wait, when did they give like their
Ah,
news? 90?
Guys, we sucked.
Oh, that was in
I mean-
'94. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. They're just like they love Ukraine over there.
it's not like horrible. Or can I
What
go
was their
back
next
to-
that wasn't
ally
that
if
bad.
you ignore Finland's existence?
It seems like we really just beefed on the time rather than the locations.
We were pretty
Pretty good
close
at
to
the
basically all of
locations.
them.
Sucked on the.
Mostly by using. Yeah.
Ukraine wasn't invented until 2014. This is true.
Yeah. Yeah, that was
I
in
got,
the 0.15 patch of the world. They added the Ukraine update. Yeah.
It's true. Yeah. World wasn't spicy enough. Okay, we needed some we
More
needed the
land
Ukraine
masses
and
added.
the Gaza update.
Yeah. New country content. Yeah, the Gaza update was wild. A lot of people trying to troubleshoot that one. It was pretty tough.
Okay, I got
And
like
as Nanfan said, we're back in 1 hour for another round.
I got like 50 fucking tabs open. Okay, then I want to
Okay,
go
all right.
briefly in chat and do things. So
All
And
right.
then we're back to picture game.
School the boys on econ, and then yeah, we'll be back.
true.
Teach them why freezing the Ren is super retarded.
Base.
All right, I'll be back.
All right. See you. All right. What's this at now? Fuck. Back up to 20. Oh shit. It's at 24. Oh shit. Oh, it's so over. Why the fuck is Powell even in charge of the renovations? That seems totally stupid. It seems like a pretty glaring. Although when you think about it, it started at. Did it start at? It started at 23. Oh, fuck, it's up since it started. God damn it. What happened? There's a congresswoman who basically just tweeted out like, Trump, Powell, fire imminent. Oh, fuck, it's at 25. Oh, it's so over. I personally think there's no client list. Wow, based. Dude, I don't follow the Epstein stuff because I just like don't care that much. But like, I didn't used to really believe that hard in any client list, but I'm thinking it's more likely now that after all the Trump after how many times Trump has talked about it and said it's made by Obama and made by Comey, which actually this is I love this, little crazy.
On what? On the DOJ and FBI. On what? On what subject?
Epstein. On Epstein. The review of the files.
A very quick briefing.
Did she tell you? What did she tell you about the review? And specifically, did she tell you about all that your name appeared in the file?
No, she's given us just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden information. And we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it, but she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release. Yeah.
So, Trump posted like 5 fucking things about it on Truth Social. So, now I'm thinking, there might actually be a fucking client list out there. Do you want to know about the Supreme Court? How the Supreme Court is going to rule? Finish the peace video? I don't want to finish. I don't want to just sit here and react. I mean, I might do it later. If I don't, I'll watch it off stream though. But I've been seeing difference as my timeline. That guy fucking hates Trump. Yeah, he's well. I mean, obviously, yeah. Trump is controlled by the neocon Zionists, obviously, bro. But so the interesting, like I said, the FOMC, it's not even like created in the Federal Reserve Act. Federal Reserve Act does not create a chair for the FOMC. By convention, the FOMC elects or doesn't create a chair for it, I guess. FOMC elects the board chair as his own chair, and the New York Fed president as the vice chair, but nothing in the statute makes either of those a requirement. So, theory, even if Powell was fired from the Board of Governors, the FOMC could still elect him. Whatever happens at the Board of Governors, the FOMC could still elect its chair, and it could very well pick Board Governor Jerome Powell as FOMC chair, meaning it would still be Powell to stand at the lectern for press conferences at the face of the Fed. Indeed, an anonymous Fed source has floated this possibility in the New York Times. My personal explanation for this is that he conflates Katie Johnson Trump Epstein allegations with other things he calls hoaxes, and that there is nothing for them to even realize that he would that would satisfy the schizos. Well, yeah, obviously, but even release, yeah. There was an Epstein list in the past, so maybe he started a new one. What do people mean by Epstein? Do people mean there's definitely? I mean, there's got to be flight logs, right? So there were flight logs that have been released before. I don't know if all the flight logs were released. But I don't know what else we would expect other than flight logs. not everyone that went to the island necessarily fucking diddled kids or whatever, but. Anyway, real quick. Okay, we got a bunch of other. Speaking of the wonderful government efficiency the Trump administration is bringing to our beautiful nation. Okay. Thank God. Thank God we had Doge to make sure that USAID fucking burns all their food instead of sending it to starving children. Let's go. What are the pedo cons hiding? That's true. They did all vote to fucking not release the files. Which is a little weird, but you know. Dude, it's kind of insane that was a like strictly party line vote. You know, like I would expect like some House Republicans to maybe side with the Democrats in that one, but I guess not. Wonderful nation we live in. Okay, dude, food aid was supposed to not be paused. By the way, when USAID, all that like spending freeze shit was paused. Later they said like, oh, you know, actually, you know, we're still gonna do food aid. Yeah, Marco Rubio told representatives and a House Appropriations Committee that he would ensure food aid would reach its intended recipients before spoiling, or at least all the food that we had already purchased would go to you know who it was intended for. You know, but it doesn't seem like that's happening. So we had already purchased a bunch of fucking high energy biscuits, enough to feed about 1.5 million children for a week. That's gonna expire and probably is to be burned now because every single fucking action at USAID now requires the 20-year-old Doge staffer to approve. Okay, you can't do anything without fucking what was the one fucking big balls Doge staffers? It wasn't big balls, but it was only, you know, his online pseudonym and a ball in title. And it was funny. Okay, you can't do anything without USAID chief fucking big balls approving it. So now we're just gonna fucking burn a bunch of food, and there's looks like probably gonna happen again. Apparently a few shipments have been going to Djibouti, but other than that, all this food aid that's gonna eventually spoil, just not doing anything, just not doing anything. Let's go. Convenient timing, because Bethan's Bulldog wrote another post about USAID, basically. Basically this complaint, or I don't want to say complaint. Basically he's writing about, you know, seems like the worst thing Trump does, like nobody cares about. You know, voters don't care about it. Either people like actively like support it, or like they just, you know, basically don't care about it. We're starving children make fat rednecks happy is beautiful. True. I know. It's so horrible. It's horrible. Yeah, Ben's Bulldog wrote a post about it. It's like, oh, you know, Trump seems to chicken out whenever the sort of salient policies like tariffs or whatever, you know, cause opinion of him to sour quite a bit. But that just doesn't happen with foreign aid. So like you're kind of just free to cut fucking however much you want, and no one cares that millions of children, poor children, are probably gonna die because of it. But you know, starving African children will pull themselves up by the bootstraps and grow their own food. Yeah, obviously. Don't you know we've just made them so dependent on US aid, and they're all, yeah, I know. They need to start fucking working, okay? Insert country and point here. Based. Wow. Welcome back, Cosmo. Okay, I felt dirty by typing that. Based. There's one other thing I was going to say, but I totally forgot. Oh, and by the what's the subject today? I don't know. We're kind of talking about a lot of stuff. That's why the Chillin's in the title came. Going over things I've seen and talking about it and chilling. But it's also funny, all those African children, okay, they're gonna go get a job, okay, but we're not gonna buy any of your products because we're gonna tear off the shit out of you. It's like, I'm actually jealous of the near zero opportunity cost for doing subsistence agriculture. True. That's why the fertility rate is. So I'm jealous of the fertility rate because they need children to work on their farms. We're talking about the live and learn drama. What is the live and learn? I saw they were talking to. All I'm seeing is that they were. I saw yesterday they were talking to the Vanguard people. Is there like drama about it? What's the drama about it? I didn't watch most of it because I don't really care.
Exercising inconsequential.
I don't really care about some of the things I talk about. But what's up, Hunter Young? I didn't know there was drama about it. I knew they were debating the Vanguard people at some points, but there's really no drama in my opinion. Okay. I thought they were just disagreeing. Yeah, that's what I thought. Just the progressive versus moderates cap they always argue about. Yeah, but this time it got really heated. Well, I would imagine, because I mean, the Vanguard people are like, I don't know if they're totally anti-electoral, but they're like socialist, right? They're like actual like Marxist, Leninist, right? So like, I'm pretty sure. I don't understand if it got heated at points.
Vanguard. If you type in the Vanguard on YouTube, odds are you'll either see them somewhat destroyed by.
The only guy to buck this trend in the post-war.
Basically, talk President Biden as long as they talk about him and it's convo based. I think they're definitely. I mean, there's a lot of valid criticisms of Biden you can have when it comes to trying to be an effective advocate for the Dems and everything. Which obviously I think Biden had a decent number of successes, but Hutch and Pisco were correct based. Obviously, first and most obviously, like he should not have chosen to run again. It was 5v1 lol. I would imagine. I skimmed or I watched parts of it because I would click on it to see if they were talking about something I was interested in. Whenever I was done with whatever else I was doing. But they never really were. Did you watch Superman? No. I skimmed through Superman on a piracy website just because people were saying it was like insanely anti-Semitic.
We tried this restaurant where they light your ramen.
And by people, I mean Drew and Pavlov. Why do I care about this?
Roasted.
I don't think I could eat most of this stuff, so I probably would not go here. I don't know why you need to know that, but what's up, Patrol? I feel like I just came in minutes after saucy things happening. Nothing that saucy is happening. Love Drew. It seemed it's Substack. It seemed pretty schizo to me, but I haven't seen the movie. Drew ZDS, I apologize. What, Zorhan derangement syndrome? Yes, yeah, that as well. Where's his fucking Substack? This article seemed kind of insane to me. Later today, say Hutch was talking. Again, I was just saying I kind of believe this time. I didn't watch it, but I did see that they were doing it. Yeah. Hutch thinks we need to keep as big a coalition as possible and handle things diplomatically. I'm aware of, like, the general disagreement that they have. I just wasn't aware that there was any so-called drama, which apparently I've been informed it was in fact them just getting in a heated disagreement. Drew Pavlou, always unhinged and biased. I mean, I think he's unhinged a lot of times, but I don't know what you mean by biased. More than double comments and likes about posts. Yeah, it makes sense. This post seems kind of insane to me. Like, it seems kind of like, again, I haven't seen the movie, but I think it's a little weird to say that they were trying to imply Israel was responsible for the 9/11 attacks just because in the movie the fake Israel, which is also fake Russia, like, blew up skyscrapers. It seems weird. It's full of euphemisms. Well, yeah, I know. But it's also, no one cares about that movie. Well, I mean, I've seen quite a bit of discourse about it, but it is also, I mean, it's a euphemism for both Russia and Israel, right? Because, I mean, it's set in Eastern Europe. I think the people there, don't they speak like a Slavic language or whatever? I think isn't it kind of supposed to be a euphemism for both? Don't ever become idle like I did coming back from being idle in 50s is hard. It's probably more general euphemism, but who knows? I mean, I don't remember what the director said. I think the director said, like, oh, there are analogies you can draw, but it's not it's not meant to be like any direct portrayal or whatever. Well, Nathan calling Israel an Eastern European Slavic country. That's true. That's what I said. Oh no. Oh no. It was in his Twitch. Okay, it's fine. They don't seem to care. Well, that was pretty on edge. I think the director mainly just said it was about being a good person. Yeah. But I don't really know what the fucking movie was trying to intend, that Israel controls the government and Israel did 9/11. That seems a little far-fetched from everything I've seen about it. Anyway, just real quick glazing session, okay? I think Sample found this dude originally, actually. This TikTok dude, quick thoughts. Oh my god, I love this dude. Oh my god, I love this dude. Oh my god, this dude is so goated. Oh my god, I love this dude. I think I initially saw one of his videos of, like, Zorhan and, like, rent freezes, and he was citing, like, good data for, like, why, rent freezes are bad. And oh my god, I love this dude. When Johnny Harris made his dumbass video about egg prices, oh my god, I love this dude. He has, like, we're not gonna watch this whole fucking 6-minute thing. He goes over exactly, like, Johnny Harris is, gonna be blaming the corporate greed caused all the egg prices to rise, and it's like, he provides such an excellent debunking. It's so great. Not it's a little schizo, but could you review my recent message in the area Discord after this glaze? I would love to hear your feedback on what you read. Yeah, sure. What channel is it in? Wait a second. Okay. What makes you a good person, Hunter? My massive dick. Base Patrol. Why are you not a crazy, toxic socialist?
Terrible, right?
Good question. Watch TikTok where Zohan complains about his frame. I don't even mean.
Their stock price.
Anyway, this he made 2 videos about this. It's so beautiful. I love this dude so much, dude. I want this dude, dude. I think by the way, I'm gonna either like tomorrow or the day after. I think Isaac is coming over, and we might do some IRL stuff, and we're definitely gonna do a podcast episode in person while he's here. So I think I think we might relaunch the podcast. I need this dude on my podcast. I love this dude. Dude, he even in his second video, he explains
in blue.
Supply and demand elasticity. Obviously,
Using Z-scores,
both the supply and demand for eggs is like very inelastic. Who is Isaac? One of the non-fawn orbiters. Okay, who doesn't show up on stream as often anymore because he's lame. But non-fawn orbiter. Okay, one of the first non-fawn orbiters actually. He actually like imports the data and like uses a Z-score to show like, oh, even because supply and demand are so inelastic for eggs, even small, oh shit, he said Z-scores, yeah, exactly, even like small increases in fucking or small decreases in demand lead to like really big increases in prices. And I can show that by taking the same data Johnny Harris uses, and then instead of just having 2 lines like Johnny Harris has, he just has like, oh, lay egg production didn't drop much, but lay price went up a ton. And he's like, okay, well, let's look at the standard deviation in egg prices or in egg production versus the standard deviation in fucking egg prices, and you can see they actually are like negatively correlated.
How many standard deviations
I love
are
this
you
dude.
different from the average? So here, using Z-scores, we have eggs in blue and price in red. And what you can see is up to about 2022, January 22, egg production is 1 standard deviation above average. 0 is the average for both of these. And prices are 1 standard deviation below average. Now production goes down to, let's call it 1 standard deviation below average. Prices go up. Production comes up to a little above average.
That's someone saying Johnny Harris can just produce like the worst fucking slop ever. You better say p-value. He doesn't say p-value, but he does have a p-value in there.
Per month. Less eggs purchases
somewhere.
Standard deviation and 0.627.
This is a p-value.
And determine if there is a correlation there. But if we were to find the correlation mathematically in a spreadsheet, then we would see there is a...
Oops, wrong thing. Alpha, what command are you using to toggle back or close tab? You hit Control-Shift-T and it opens the last tab you closed. Fun fact. Okay, what's this message? 2 additional thoughts, one bordering schizo and the other building off our conversation. Imagine how insane it would be, imagine how insane it would be assuming Trump doesn't die if they try to run him for a 3rd term. But as an independent, so it would be consistent. So it would be contested on if he is actually able to run, and using the defense that he was technically not the same president, elected twice. He is a Republican, so lol. I'm not sure that defense would ever hold up. But the other thing I was thinking about was related to the topic of rhetoric about how Dems should be relentless, bullies to MAGA, but also merging with the idea of gearing their rhetoric towards the idea of being disenfranchised, or that their positions in life are unfairly taken away from them as woke rises. This is true. You see this absolutely working or beginning to work, and then you see it countered by MAGA almost immediately for them to regain their narrative control. You saw this with Walz calling them weird, also about the policies in a state that allowed for his free school lunch to children, being a coach, a vet, etc. After this, you see Walz get attacked by the pedophile rumor, and then I'm talking about lying about a service in the military. You saw this with Kamala talking about working at McDonald's. To counter this, they claim she lied about it, used a statement from McDonald's saying that they had no records today back far enough to prove one way or the other, and use it as PR stunt to have Trump make fries and appeal to the working class. And you saw this when Tony called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage, and then Biden replied saying that the garbage he sees were the supporters, or some shit like that. True. Basically, immediately after that, Trump is seen at a photo op in a garbage truck and try to speak up for the working class, displaced, etc. Yeah. It's annoying. It's hard to take people seriously on public policy issues with that beard. What beard? Oh, the guy we were just watching? That guy's my goat. one of my. We're relaunching a podcast. He's gonna be my second guest, or maybe third guest. We'll see. Okay, that's the plan. I am an abundance takey based. Patrol's just a hater for real, for real. Apparently. But do you think Madame will be like Michelle Wu? Michelle Wu? I don't know Michelle Wu. No, I'm just high. Hey, listen, Patrol is our whale, okay? So, you know, he's not really a hater if he donates money, right? So, you know, that's what's important. Have you read Abundance? Of course I've read Abundance. Who's on the podcast? I was saying I'm gonna relaunch my fucking podcast, which has been dead for a year. Podcast. We're gonna have Isaac on it. And then, oh shit, Patrol with the fucking $50. See, Patrol, how can Patrol be a hater when he does shit like that? Let's get a fucking twerk pic for this one. But then the dude we were just watching, the Quick Thoughts dude talking about egg prices, I want him on my him on the podcast. I think that'd be goated. Hell yeah. See, they try to make me hate you, Patrol, but I could never hate you. Okay. Hell fucking yeah. Let's get some thumbs up on the super chat. Everyone on YouTube chat. Let's get some. Dude, half my fucking things don't work anymore. I can still do Bikini Woman. Well, Bikini Woman kind of covers the text I'm trying to read, but anyway. The one scenario I can see Trump getting a win with the trade war, okay, is if the tariffs just turn into a VAT. Hell base, what the fuck? You just need to get Patrol intoxicated so I can shit on him and bait him into securing the dono. Bro donated before you could even type it out, man. Okay, this is the one. I live in a yacht dog. That is true. He told me he bought a fucking yacht. So he's Patrol is loaded. Okay, Patrol is loaded. Anyway, the one good potential outcome for the trade war is if America gets a VAT too. Under normal circumstances, passing a VAT or aggressive tax on consumption, which I mean you can pretty easily not make it regressive if you like offset it with subsidies, but regardless, would be political suicide for either party. But in the context of a fiscal emergency, and with the cost partly offset by cuts to even more regressive tariffs, it might just be plain both parties could agree to walk together. Let's go. Please. How many avocado toasts are you buying with that? Dude, that money is gonna go to well, actually, I was gonna say it's gonna go to Restream, but YouTube's not even gonna pay me out by the time I have to pay the Restream subscription. This is part of the reason why we're fundraising. Okay, I gotta pay $50 a month for fucking Restream. Or well, have to is a funny word. It is worth it to me to pay $50 a month for Restream, and I dread that charge every time. Okay, so I gotta grift before I do. But YouTube doesn't even YouTube's not even gonna pay me out in time for that. So no, well, I don't know what that money's gonna be used for yet. We'll see. Which is why we have the exclamation point. Which is why we have the Streamlabs linked. The exclamation point TTS. You know, if you donate via that link, I get paid immediately, and they take a smaller cut as well because YouTube takes fucking 50%, which is annoying. Not on the podcast sounds interesting. I'm newer, so I didn't see the podcast when it existed before. But there was no one. I don't think anyone here has seen the podcast. It's like 5 people. But there's a huge untapped small community of streamers that are just detached. Real. I've been chat casting the entire moving and living on a bat thing here. A human boat on Alphonse's channel since I started it. Yes, you have, Patrol. Yes, you have. All taxes are bad. Incorrect. I mean, like, I think obviously negative externality taxes are like good, and so are probably taxes on land rents, and there are taxes that are just the tax themselves may not be like good, as in the sense that like there's like zero dead weight loss, but like you can use it to fund cool shit. So, but I'm like all size every day, and every day here, and I'm sore right now, so smoke some weed. Based. Patrol gets more and more based every chat message. Let's go. Time goes by, I'm becoming more and more convinced that a high tariff policy will eventually lead to a big VAT, which is the I don't know that of European style welfare, of a European style welfare state. We're still a long way away from that outcome. The door has been cracked open, and believe that we can already see how this would play out in the long run. What's up?
Oh, I don't know this guy.
You
See,
what?
that's funny. See, that's funny. Yeah, I don't know. I talked to Boy a bit. I don't know. Still irrational. But yeah, I don't
True.
know. What are you talking about?
Wait,
What are you
about
covering?
what? Hold on, what did you talk to a
What?
cowboy about?
Oh, inequality and stuff. Painful. Why can
True.
people not just be utilitarian? It's so sad. It's so sad. It's so
Yeah, I
sad.
haven't read his
It's
most
so
recent
sad.
Substack yet. I need to, but
Oh, Hamsters wants me to send him his studies. Oh, I'll send him. Wait, what do you want?
I was just saying I haven't read his most recent Substack yet. I need to, but I don't wanna. I don't wanna.
You should. It's like it's like a 5 minute listen, whatever,
Mhm.
if you put it on 2 times speed. Which is different than 10 minutes for spiritual reasons.
True.
But very true, very true. But yeah, I don't know. I think like politics gets boring lately. Um, there's just nothing interesting. Like, I was 100% right on Epstein. I should not have changed my mind on Epstein. Like, a friend of mine bullied me into thinking it's likely that he killed him, that he was killed, right? Because of like, in like February, they bullied me into saying like, no, it's actually likely that he like got killed. I should
Mhm.
not have conceded. I think it's very likely he killed himself.
But the missing footage, bro. The missing footage and
Very true. So
the
true.
first suicide
Like, yeah, I
attempt
don't
as
know why
well.
they edited the footage away or whatever soy shit. I don't know what the fuck. But like, all the story for him killing himself makes sense. And Destiny has the good take on this, but it's also like the fact that it's just like it's always been just like fucking motivated reason. It's like, oh, billionaire Jewish guy pedophile. Oh, he has like a whatever cabal of like rape children. Like, no, that sucks. So that's like what everyone wants to talk about lately, and that's just boring. It's just like boring. Like the anti-conspiracy side was right as always, and
True.
yeah,
True.
just boring. So what we're seeing actually is MAGA versus reality. It's like, you can push conspiracies and it's good electorally, but once you get into office, you campaign on something not real. How problem?
You're cutting
It's
out, man. You cut out like quite a bit. You got to repeat the last.
no.
Okay, damn. Wow.
So sad, so
True.
unfair. We have inequality in access to microphones or something. But so unfair. We gotta fix that. Give me
That's
your
true.
money. I'll buy a new mic. But yeah, I don't know. The politics is boring. I don't know. I just like nothing interesting to talk about, right? Like you have the
Have you
MAGA
seen the
tards defending.
Well, have you seen the Powell
Yeah, go
stuff?
ahead. I've heard like two things on it. No, I didn't look into it. What was the Powell stuff?
There's just some congresswoman basically tweeted out like, "Oh, I heard oh fuck, what was her name, chat? Uh I found it. Basically just tweeted out like, "Oh, the source told me 99% sure Trump is firing Powell or whatever." Um
Well,
so although
good
Poly
luck.
Market still only has it at like 25%.
Yeah, nothing ever happens.
So
What? 25%. Well, wait, but by 25%, they mean like that Trump tries to, or actually does succeed.
I think it's just try to. I don't know.
Oh, then I don't know about that. That may or may not be true. But succeeds, it's like vanishingly like zero.
Oh no, does
You
my
know?
resolve to yes if Jerome Powell ceases to be the chair of the U.S. Federal Reserve for any period of time between January 26, 2025. Although I don't know like how they would rule if like he's fired, but then he sues in court, and then presumably he would get some type of like restraining order where he would continue being the Fed chair while the court played out. I don't know necessarily. I don't know if they would rule that he wasn't actually Fed chair until he sued, but I don't know.
Maybe I'm not following that. What do you think about Piers Morgan lying to me?
About Elmo?
Yeah, he lied to me. You know how excited I was? I was actually pumped. I was actually like, yes, yes, more slop, yes, yes, yes. I was like, I'm
I
gonna
know. It's
goon watching the
clickbait.
interview. Like nothing.
Unbelievable. It's
Like fucking
unbelievable.
nothing. He made it up. He pulled the Morgan on me. I cannot believe I got Morgan. It's so sad, so tragic. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just everything's boring, you know. I finished my assignments. Politics is boring. Chess is boring. Piers Morgan's boring. Can you imagine Piers Morgan being boring? The West is truly over. You know, last bastion of the West fell. It's over. We can pack it up. You know, it's not even interesting anymore to like rage bait lefties by calling yourself a neoliberal. It's just like they're all brain dead. I don't know.
True.
Nothing gives me joy. I'm sad. I'm depressed. But my cat is very cute, and that's really good.
That's what's the most important.
Yeah, I don't know. That's right. What are you planning to read next? Like an article or something?
I don't know. I mean, well, I'm chilling on stream right now. I don't we'll probably look at Econoboy. I think Rinyold wrote a thing about immigration that we'll read, and then I don't know. We'll be chilling. So.
Okay. Trying to think. What's good to
I do need to read
read
about
about?
econometrics. I think I'm going to read the causal
I
inference
don't
by
know. I
Scott.
want to max out my
His name's
anti-union
Scott.
stats.
Scott, whatever.
But I was thinking of doing like research into gun control. I don't know if I don't know what the research says. Seems like a very small group of researchers. So I don't know if I even want to read, but I don't know. Seen some interesting synthetic controls, but then I looked and it's like actually not too good. I don't know. Even econometrics is boring. Can you imagine? The East truly fell. So sad. But oh, I found a good resource by the way from the what's it? Oh, I forgot the name, but it's called Causal Inference for the Brave and the True. It's like a book, online book or whatever that just explains all the methodologies in econometrics and causal inference.
Yeah.
Really good book.
Oh yeah.
That's
I was
good.
gonna read the
That's good.
causal inference, the mixtape. I might read that as well then.
Oh, it's very technical and mathy. It's not very. It's like pretty chill. They have a YouTube channel that might be more worthwhile watching. Um, yeah. But yeah, I mean, you can read it. It's just like some math there. So if you don't have a brain for math, that'd be annoying.
I'm good enough at math.
I think I might leave the Parker server. They're brain dead. Have you
I
seen
haven't
that
checked
stuff?
either the Dean or Parker server in a while. No.
I'm not coming back to Dean. Dean is actually a subhuman, fucking pathetic excuse of a human. What a fucking pathetic, sad,
True.
fucking
That's
grifter.
true.
I hate Dean. So No, he really is fucking pathetic. I mean, what a endless grift fake. No principle, just money. Fake. I respect it. I don't. But Parker is less so, but still not respectable. Thing is, some like 2 months ago, or whatever, whenever it came out, Swag was sending the synthetic control Cuba paper. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So he sent that. Then this fucking low IQ dipshit is like, what? That study ignores this bill that was so it says it accounts for U.S. sanctions, but it ignores this 1992 bill and 1995 bill. And I tried telling this person very like nicely, hey, um, you are retarded. The time frame of the analysis ends in 1990. It cannot ignore the bill because it's outside of the time frame. It's not like there's a thing unaccounted for. It's just not in the time frame. A 40-year time horizon is like very, very generous.
Yeah.
So no, be normal. And it's just like fucking. It's clear that they're using ChatGPT, and then they don't know what synthetic controls are. So you got to explain to them. And every time you explain to them, it's like, oh, you're using neoliberal jargon. It's like fucking
True.
Why can't?
That's
And then
bourgeois data.
every time I'm mean because these people, deserve to be mean to. The mods step in and say, no, you gotta be nice. You gotta be nice. And so now after a month of back and forth where this like subhuman retard just like writes a long message and I refute it line by line, they just tell me like, no, you guys cannot interact anymore. The problem is,
wow.
Look, I'm happy if they shut the fuck up. The problem is, they now just tag Swag, and say the same retarded shit, and I cannot even debunk them. It's so sad. It's so unfair. So unfair. We're unequal. It's so unfair.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, no, yeah. You know what? I was thinking about something. Well, I'm kind of stealing the joke from another place, but that's okay. I thought about like people progressives say like there's socialism for the rich.
Yeah.
If I'm feeling really spicy, if I'm feeling really, really spicy, I'll be like, you're so right. The problem with the world is that there is socialism for the rich. And by socialism for the rich, I mean government overreach, right? If we just
True.
deregulated the government for billionaires, we would have we need capitalism for billionaires. We need to let them have less regulation and more.
Thanks for stopping by, Patrol. I appreciate
That's
it.
how we
Hell
solve
yeah.
the economy. You're so right. You're so right. No socialism for the rich.
Speaking of Dina Park is like speaking of Roblox server, that's true.
But yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah.
Dude, I was arguing with
that's my thing.
That dumb fucking New York shade guy on Twitter again today. Oh
yeah,
my
I've
god,
seen
kill
the
me.
screenshot or something that you sent.
Yeah, I sent one screenshot.
What did they say? I'm trying to remember.
Basically, their initial claim, not only was the COVID-19 response under Biden the biggest transfer of wealth to the top 1% in modern history, it also substantially benefited foreign-born workers over Americans. Don't discount the role of DEI in this analysis. It wasn't immigration alone. And I think
yeah.
Yeah, I responded it 2 times because one was talking about immigration and one was talking about the transfer of wealth. I said, just I'm not sure where you got the largest transfer of wealth to the 1% from. I said, like, maybe QE increased inequality, but Biden doesn't control that. And then he said, company valuations tanked. Top asset managers bought at a discount and then dominated subsequent gains. Come on, man. Why do you like your own tweets? Because I like my own tweets because I want them to be seen by more people, okay? And liking my own tweets counts as engagement in my book, okay? So it's
no, very true, very true. I like my own tweets when it's like a bit, but I usually don't. Because I have self-respect. But it's fine if you don't. It's fine if you don't. Because you don't. It's fine if you don't. Oh. I'm an asshole. But no.
I mean, Costco and Walmart was allowed to stay open while everywhere
just like
everywhere else had to close. Only massive companies were allowed to continue to operate in some places. Maybe in some places, I'm not aware of it like any national mandate that made small businesses close, but Walmart and Costco to stay open. It's possible some states did that. I don't know for sure though. I would need like data on that, but you make enough from streaming to be able to use things like Restream
Wait,
or
not
Twitter
fun. You
verification as
remember
a
that?
write-off. I think technically Hunter Young, but I don't do it. I think technically I could though. But how are carbon taxes not just clean energy subsidies? They
Not
raise
fun.
the
Which,
price of
which,
non-clean
okay, can I ask you a
energy.
question?
Well, that's the point. But yeah, what's your question?
They're not a subsidy. They're not a subsidy. What?
So he's saying that
can I
they
ask-
raise
okay,
the price of non-clean
which
energy.
okay, it's. I mean, they may have similar effects, but they're not like subsidies give money to people. Carbon taxes take money from people. It's
Well,
very different.
I mean, he knows that.
But like, yeah, they both incentivize clean energy.
Yeah, they're gonna have.
Yeah, okay, then they have the same. They target. They get at the same thing. Yeah. Okay, look. Remember that 9 plus 10 equals 19. But he said.
You need
this 21 thing image I sent you.
Yeah.
I have two things I want to say, but I cannot say both of them. So I'm going to ask you which one you want me to say. Okay.
Okay.
Would you rather me say that the girl looks like you, or say that the girl's hot? Which one do you think? Which one do you think is better to say? Which one's
we'll
better
go
to
with,
say?
you know, we'll go with the girl looks like me. Okay. I guess we'll go with that one. Okay.
Yeah, she kind of looks like you, not fun. She kind of looks like you. If that's the better one. Yeah. See, that's funny. You're the one sending me out of pocket fucking reels, okay? I can make out of pocket jokes.
Whoa. Inaccurate.
Whoa.
That's a little accurate.
What? What's inaccurate? Oh no, yeah. You would never do that. You would never.
I would never.
Black men to black men, you would never do that.
Black men.
Yeah, black guy to black guy. So true. But yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm not gonna stall anymore. I gotta sleep. It's 6 a.m. But
wow.
But funny memes.
True.
Wow.
Talk to her. Oh damn! And then we have to say talk to her. Goddamn. Bro, you need stream. You need to stream roll people in debate panels, just like you steamrolled this dude mid speak. Real. What sample? Did I steamroll him? All right, this dude is dumb. There's a lot of memes. Or I don't want to say memes. A lot of dumb things this guy says, and that's why he refuses to talk to me in VC ever. So that's cool. I was saying he was mid speaking to you, roll through his ass by reading chat. LMAO. Oh well, I mean, yeah, I do that someday. Yeah, obviously. So I gotta read chat. Okay. I did do that. It reminds me of the panel the other day on Wick Stream. Well, I mean, he reads super chats a lot. I don't know. He doesn't read regular chat that often. But he gets paid for that. I'm just, I get paid with the respect for my fans. Okay, so I gotta have the, chat engagement, obviously. Does non-fun like DSGE modeling? I don't know what that is. Dynamics. Yeah, I don't have advanced enough knowledge to understand this shit. That's why we need to read the fucking causal inference and econometrics book. The Lucas critique. I know that one. Supply siders basically haven't been wrong about anything. What do you mean by supply sider? I mean, I think like obviously like I'm a neoliberal, so I'm gonna lean pretty supply side a lot of times. I don't know. I mean, I like welfare. I like externality taxes, but I don't even think most supply siders would necessarily be against that. I don't know. Well, Sam probably doesn't like DSG. Probably not. You need Sam to explain why microfoundations are neoliberal or whatever. Real. Dude, I did read the first 5 pages of Introduction to Post-Keynesian Economics. Okay, so I know I have a little bit of the I forget what he called them. He might have just called them axioms. The whatever foundations, whether they're heterodox or orthodox. Foundations. Wow, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but yeah, Lavufeld. 5 pillars of mental illness, real. Sorry, I don't know if that got sent twice. My internet's as right now. I don't think it got sent once. Anyway, this is gonna be cringe. This is gonna be cringe. It's gonna be cringe. It's gonna be cringe. I know everything's gonna say. Tiny Tim intuitions are good enough to have my moral basis. Good enough to form my moral basis. After a crystallizing conversation with Matt Bruneck, I did a year or two of light research as my family, work, content creation, and other hobbies divided my time. That changed around a year ago when I had a renewed interest in morality and ethics. For a long time, my philosophical views were rather surface level, without much systemic thought. Oh, wait, it got filtered shit. Yeah, YouTube filtering is annoying. I can't really control it either, which is annoying. This changed when I decided to think a bit harder about normative ethics, and without intending, this led me to socialist thinkers who would offer a compelling moral case for social ownership. My path towards to socialism would soon take another big leap forward. My normative foundation. Normative ethics is a branch of philosophy concerned with determining the right and wrong. How do we determine what is moral? Well, consult your normative framework. Utilitarianism is one such framework. Utilitarianism is a normative framework where right and wrong depend on utility of a given action or rule. What utility means depends on a utilitarian, but it often takes the form of happiness or some sense of well-being for the individual or collective. What country has gotten rich using socialist policies? I think a lot of what would argue, obviously, Norway, which is socialist under his definition, although some of that's due to oil, obviously, they still, how long has their sovereign wealth been a thing? They've been mostly socialist under his definition for a decent amount of time, and we still see them growing and everything. But sorry, Matt, you reminded me, and that I wanted you to steamroll them because that socialist dude kept interrupting you and saying the dumbest thing imaginable. Very true. What socialist dude? The sociologic dude, the guy I talked to about Zorhan. Are you talking about him? There's an unspoken utilitarianism thought experiment of unspoken utilitarianism throughout a lot of economic discussion and research, where we often focus on things like either growth or innovation on a system-wide level, or things like impoverishment, health outcomes, or educational attainment on an individual level. The reason economic thinkers focus on these things is in part because they are consequentially good. Half of the time, I don't know what Catrix is trying to say. Real. I know what Catrix is trying to say usually. Like a solid 80% of the time. It's a good thing when people have access to healthcare and education. And it's a good thing when the economy grows and innovates. This is because well-being and happiness are things worth seriously considering, if not maximizing. And a lot of economic targets serve as good proxies. Given this, my economics education led me to utilitarianism as my normative framework, but this wouldn't last. Oh boy, the egalitarian spin. Although I was a utilitarian, I also consider myself an egalitarian. Egalitarianism, in the most fundamental sense, is a belief in equality. To reconcile this with my utilitarianism, it seemed equality was important, but only instrumentally based, insofar as it meant people were happier and better off in some sense. What happened to the base economy? As I became more interested in exploring egalitarianism, a friend recommended me a few thinkers of the topic. Ronald Dworkin, John Rawls, Amartya Sen, and G.A. Cohen. All of them evil. All of these thinkers have their own egalitarian theories that diverge from each other in notable ways. Without getting into all that, I began to favor G.A. Cohen's egalitarian theory, where the fundamental thing we're trying to equalize is access to advantage, where advantage is is a person's welfare or access to resources. His theory boils down to the idea that inequality is only just. Inequality is only just in some sense if inequality results from an individual's free and equal choice. I feel like people kind of just hear about utilitarianism as a broad concept and just fall by default. But I don't know if they mean utilitarianism as a general philosophy or with any kind of particular. Well, when we mean by people, I think obviously most people, brother G.A. Cohen, that's what I'm saying. I think obviously most people just don't think about it too much. I think most people have like broadly consequentialist like intuitions. So, which not that it's not like I'm particularly well read on philosophy or anything. So, for instance, if a person chooses to gamble away each paycheck, they might be entitled to some basic standard of living for some reason, but on egalitarian grounds, this person isn't entitled to compensation for his gambling losses. Conversely, if the same person suffers a disability where he cannot use his legs, he's entitled to some compensation as his disability affects his access to advantage. I'm Kantian pilled since being on my cringe course arc. But I know there are such things as Kantian inspired utilitarianism. I mean, I think, not that I know much of a Kant, but I think, I don't know. I don't see a reason to take some of the things he says that seriously. Is my last message censored? I think so, Tron. Unfortunately, 1980 Ford. Unbelievable. As I read these egalitarian thinkers, I ran into a couple of simple, albeit biting critiques of utilitarianism. These critiques of utilitarianism focus on a choice between two options that I could not reconcile under a pure utilitarian framework. First came in G.A. Cohen's On a Currency of Global Egalitarian Justice. There is a Rossian deontology. This is why you have to use the Hamas website instead. They don't censor you. That's true. That's true. Kick doesn't censor you either. They're just a gambling website. I guess you can do Rumble as well. Actually, I don't have Rumble chat activated. But I'm not trying to argue, but I'm just curious what you mean by about there being things that shouldn't be taken too seriously. I mean, I think like broadly the categorical imperative thing is just kind of like I think that leads you to sort of insane bullets that you have to bite that are very unintuitive and stupid. I thought I made a game in 10 minutes. What, that Roblox thing? You sent me that. I never played it, but I saw it. Okay. Quality welfare is the egalitarian view that society should compensate people when their welfare is at a deficit relative to others. Cohen addresses this head on by using the example of Tiny Tim. Oh my god, Tiny Tim. Oh my god, Tiny Tim. I can do it in a second. Tron. A person who has paralysis in his legs, but also by stroke of luck, happens to have a happy predisposition. Despite this person's naturally high sense of welfare, an egalitarian likely has the intuition that Tiny Tim should receive some type of compensation for his paralysis, whether or not to be money, physical goods, or some combination of things to offer Tim a similar mobility to others. This recommends a strict reason not to always prioritize utility. Okay. Hold on, buddy. Okay. The Tiny Tim example should be, to make it clear, the Tiny Tim example is, do we help Tiny Tim if helping him kept net utility equal? Not just like he has a predisposition to being happy, therefore, like, what, the, like, whatever compensation has, like, a marginal impact on his life because he's happy anyway. It's that if net utility is equal between Tiny Tim being paralyzed with no compensation and Tiny Tim being helped out in some way with a wheelchair or with some fucking stem cell technology to make him not paralyzed. If net utility is equal in both those worlds, should we help Tiny Tim? That should be the Tiny Tim example. It should not just be like he has a natural predisposition of being happy. Therefore, what, utilitarians wouldn't want to help him? That seems silly. But okay. Regardless. Okay. Person's level of happiness and or well-being is not always a reason to avoid or provide compensation. Perhaps happiness or utility is a very important thing to consider, but it's not always the sole motivating force. In addition to this, in Matt Brunegg's A Basic Primer on Rawlsian and Egalitarian Distributive Justice, he outlines a simple two-person system with a set of different distributions. Not want to hear what you mean. I think it's the caveat with accepting particular philosophers and ideas, like there is Betham and Mills and utilitarianism distinguish different things. Well, yeah. From the writer of "You should be socialist because of camping trips." That's true. Kill me. I'll use a similar example focusing on utility with one additional case. In each case, we have two people, person A and person B, each with allocated level of utility, whatever that means to a utilitarian. Note these are absolute levels of utility, so there can be no diminishing marginal utility arguments here. Is this going to basically just be a utility monster case, I'm guessing? Or just ignore last message. What? Okay. We then have a total sum of utility in each system. Case 1 is perfect equality, and case 2 would 4 are different distributions of utility with a greater sum of utility than in the perfect equality scenario. The question of this exact exercise is, which case would you prefer? A utilitarian is committed to answering number 4, or person A has negative net utility, think of miserable life, and person B has high positive utility, think of very luxurious life. Most people, including myself, wouldn't have this intuition. It would seem that case 1 or 2 are preferable are the preferable options amongst the 4, where I would prefer case 2. This is an abstract circumstance where it doesn't seem intuitive to only value utility. Of course, there are attempts by utilitarian to reconcile these concerns, but to avoid belaboring the point, I don't find them convincing enough to say we should always only value utility. These arguments, among others, broke me out of being a strict utilitarian, but that left me with the question: if I'm not a utilitarian, what am I now? I was told there's a debate tomorrow afternoon on the Epstein files. Are you going to be on it? Hosted by who? I don't. What day is today? Tuesday. I don't think so. I've not been invited to anything, and the utility chart feels really silly, to be honest. What do you mean by silly? I mean, I think I should read this full blog post, but I haven't. I've only skimmed through it. I like the way this person phrases it. I think the most sort of plausible thing is that this is where we're overfitting a fitting heuristic. Okay, so it's probably a fine heuristic to say, oh, inequality is bad, and we should probably want broadly egalitarian outcomes between two people, and intuitively, right? It feels intuitively like we want equality. That's a good heuristic, and it's a reasonable intuition. But then we try to overfit it to being the actual basis of our moral system. And I just I think it's I think it's like that. There are two reasons why we think the concept of inequality is overfitting a fitting heuristic. One reason why one might gravitate towards an error theoretic treatment of egalitarian intuitions is the nature of the I can't pronounce this word. Fuck me. Google have the pronunciation thing. Kill me. Egyptology objection? I'm guessing. Our ordinary concern for inequality seems to evaporate when the better off and worse off populations are radically disconnected, say separated by 1,000 light years. If inequality were a basic and principal moral constraint, it is puzzling that spatial or causal distance should matter at all. By contrast, if egalitarian impulses evolved or culturally evolutionary as a rule of thumb for managing social relations, then it is no surprise that the intuition misfires in extreme, non-interactive cases. Therefore, the heuristic model predicts this scope slip when the principled model must treat it as a counterexample. Does he go over this example earlier? I think this is just when we have two societies obviously really far away. That's where the libertarian framework comes into existence, to adjust that mindset. The determination of something being unjust is the way in which it's acquired in a consensus distribution. I mean, I'm aware libertarians think that. I think Roblox is a banned word. There's no way Roblox is a banned word. Okay, under geologic inequality, The morality of a society is at least partially determined by what happens in a different society, even one very far. This, I argue, is an unintuitive result. To demonstrate, imagine a society with many very happy lives in a very far alien society 1,000 light years away that nobody in the first society knows about. In this alien society, people have terrible lives. Well, it intuitively seems like the goodness of these societies should be independent of each other, and therefore the universe should only treat it as both of them were separate and being added. If you think inequality is an intrinsic bad, then the total good of society will be affected by the fact that both of these societies have vast amounts of inequality between them. Like in other cases, this seems like quite an unintuitive result. Another point about this can be made about the utility monster case. Imagine there were a single agent in society, presumably increasing their utility by a lot would be a far better society. Now imagine that same society, but there exists another society very far away, which has lower levels of utility. Well, this is the same as the utility monster case. It seems as though our intuitions about the goodness of doubling the single agent's utility is very different from the one in which there is another society far out, but these far away societies don't seem morally relevant to each other. Well, I'm saying that to agree with the perspective of the person in the article, the inequality is able to exist and not inherently be an evil thing, just because it's unjust and unequal. Well, I mean, you did mention like it is a there can be just reasons for inequality to exist, like if someone's gambling away all their fucking money, whatever. But, yeah. In addition, our intuitions about utility, i.e., capping it off or becoming less important as you reach higher levels, seem to disappear when dealing with population of one individual, which makes it seem likely that they're artifacts from comparative happiness rather than some intrinsic moral principle. This feature, like the last, should give us reason to think that inequality is heuristic that we gain from interaction between multiple people, meaning that we shouldn't put too much weight on our intuitions in the cases of inequality. I think there is some other things he runs through here, but some of these are these error theories for the utility monster thing. Forget. No, this is error theory for the inequality. Never mind. Yeah, there's no other things here. This is a good article. Culturally, may also be particularly averse to a single power taking control, as has occurred for the worst in many instances of dictatorship, authoritarian regimes, etc. Therefore, because of our experiences and psychological / biological dispositions, we might see the utility monster case and fear that it smells of bad value lock-in. The idea that some values we don't like might be imposed on us for a long time. Because of this, we become extra adverse to large levels of inequality. However, this inequality is bad insofar as it leads to power imbalance and bad value lock-in. An idea that is not intrinsic to having large amounts of utility and equality. Therefore, we should not generalize this idea of inequality to cases and principles outside our training data. Anyway. Ethical pluralism. In my academics education, I found a desire to systematize. I like the idea of putting in inputs and coming out with an output with perfect consistency. I figured morality shouldn't be any different. Based? What? As we gather data and inputs about specific situations, we should be able to put those into our moral framework and come up with consistent answers. Utilitarianism is great for this. Which action results in more utility? Go with that one. Easy enough. But by researching egalitarianism, I had an irreducible conflict in values. It's not possible to always reconcile egalitarian and utilitarian ideals, since there are intrinsic reasons to value equality outside of its effect on utility. This led me to ethical pluralism. Ethical pluralism is a framework wherein a person holds simultaneous and sometimes conflicting values. This research also led me to largely reject attempts to systematize one's ethical system. It's not that systematizing one's moral understanding is all bad, but a person might have many conflicting values. Morality is complicated, so depending on the issue, the best a person can do is make an evaluation and come to what they think is best, even if their ultimate opinion is idiosyncratic or inexplicable given their stated values. This doesn't mean that a person shouldn't try to ever systematize their morality or think deeply about the set of values they hold, nor should they avoid thinking about the instances in which their values conflict with each other. But balancing one's values against each other in a given circumstance makes sense to me, relative to assuming one could fully and systematically determine right or wrong from a single value. So socialism. So what does that all have to do with socialism? It's point on my research on egalitarianism, with my values of happiness and equality amongst others. Someone said, or perhaps I read it somewhere, that socialism is the only economic system that can establish the egalitarian ideal. Although on balance of my views, I didn't think that we could achieve a socialist mode of production without sacrificing people's well-being relative to a mixed model. This fundamental view made sense, marking my transformation from agnostic to capitalism or socialism, believing in a mixed economic model, to believing that socialism was at least an ideal worth pursuing. This is the main reason I now call myself a socialist. I take equality very seriously, and I think socialism is the best way to achieve the egalitarian ideal. A liberal capitalist, a Georgist, a distributist might all say their systems achieves a ideal level of equality, but my survey of the liberal capitalist, Georgist, and distributionist ideals all leaves me wanting. All these frameworks, by maintaining private ownership of the means of production, institute a system where private ownership of the market process leads to great diversions in an individual's levels of power, wealth, and economic resources. Socialism, by contrast, socialism by socializing the ownership of production, cleanly addresses this. Despite this, I didn't think socialism was feasible. Sure, maybe philosophically, socialist system was ideal, but the best model example of socializing means in production seemed to fall short relative to the economic model with a dominant capitalist market. Norway being socialist just belies every definition of socialism in history. True. Truth nuke. I don't think you can I think it's fair. I think it's reasonable to argue that they're maybe the closest to socialism, the closest to democratic socialism, which is obviously a different type of socialism than what people can generally consider socialism. But I mean, Sample has brought this up before. If you were to write a book on the history of socialism and talking about Norway and Sweden and not the Soviet Union, no one would take that seriously, right? So Vietnam would be a better example. Why doesn't he bring this up? Well, because Vietnam isn't democratic, right? I don't know how democratic Vietnam is, but I don't think it would fit his definition of democracy. So, however, this philosophical journey got me to at least recognize that a socialist economic system where people at large manage production in democratic fashion is all else equal, an ideal worth pursuing. And although these steps were unclear about how to go about that, I didn't think that there was a good reason to eschew the ideal. G.A. Cohen, in his most famous work, Why Not Socialism, concludes by saying, any attempt to realize the socialist ideal runs up against entrenched capitalist power and individual human selfishness. Politically serious people must take those obstacles seriously, but they are not reasons to disparage the idea itself. The socialist aspiration is to extend community and justice to the whole of our economic life. As I've acknowledged, we now know that we do not know. Sorry, we now know that we do not know how to do that, and many think that we now know it is impossible to do that. But community conquest in certain domains, such as healthcare and education, have sustained viable forms of production and distribution in the past. From philosophical to practical. In some ideal sense, socialism made sense to me, but I wasn't sure, given the limits. Wasn't sure what the limits were. I knew society could organize itself in a mostly socialist manner, given Norway's example. Less than 50% socialist, by the way. But could we really ramp up public ownership to encompass nearly the whole of the market? Was this possible in every country? It wasn't until I learned of a couple of books written by an investment banker that I began to grasp the plausibility of a socialist world. Wow. So many planning meetings to go. I mean, to be fair, Conaway will say, like for land ownership, right? He wants public land ownership, but he's also oh, we're gonna have private holding companies, actually manage and develop the land, right? And we're gonna have multiple state-owned enterprises competing against each other, right? So like he still does still does see the value in markets and not a big like central planner. But the second point of what do you mean by social? Sorry. What do you mean? You don't like socialism, bro? Ooh, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, or socialist, bro? It's just so dumb to me. I mean, um, I think your kind of would agree like transfer payments are not socialism. But I think he would probably say, I don't think it's like entirely unreasonable to argue that like to some extent when you have like actual government production of healthcare or like actual government ownership of like a health insurance company, like that is more socialist technically than the alternative. Like you could have 100% private health insurance companies. But I'm just saying, I did the math. Okay, we got the math. We got the value added by state-owned enterprises plus the final demand from general government, which is the highest measure of government spending Norway has. Okay, although to be fair, I do actually think it is probably the correct one to use in this context. It fucking almost reaches 50%, rounds up to 50% in 2022. I gotta do the calculations for mainland Norway because it does seem a little silly to like say, how socialist Norway is depends on how much offshore drilling they do, right? Because that's gonna have pretty big effects on the value added by state-owned enterprises. Socialism with BlackRock characteristics. Well, yeah, exactly. Economy will like, I mean, he uses BlackRock as an example of like, clearly we can have, ownership of these things and still leave them to like mostly control themselves, mostly manage themselves. It's not like BlackRock has like active management in all the firms they invest in. Kind of hit a lot of these super deep ethics debates, because just like if the Islamic world had beat the Christian world, all these utilitarian frameworks would be justifying hijabs. I don't necessarily think that's true. This is I gotta figure out too. I'm too lazy. What exactly final demand from general government is, because I'm pretty sure it's the final consumption expenditures of the government plus the gross acquisitions of fixed assets and R&D plus some other really small category. Because when I add final consumption plus the gross acquisition of fixed assets, like you get, very, very close. These are like within a few dozen of each other sometimes. Although in 2022 it's like or 2021 it's pretty far off. But 2023 is almost exactly the same. And so is 2020, I think. Yeah. I don't think I'll ever do a super big. I don't want to say ever. I'm not going to in the foreseeable future do a like big fucking like ethics deep dive or anything. But I would, it would be. Maybe I'll try to organize. Okay, we'll have like synth the convoy. Okay, maybe that can happen. Be so much better if he just consolidated. If we just consolidated the welfare state. Well, I mean, I think a convoy would definitely agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah, obviously. Wait, how much is this about? I saw this paper. We talked about it on my server a little bit. seems like there was that like initial like paper that came out from, was it fucking Oxford or fucking whatever. Berkeley. But apparently they don't not very public with their methodology versus this paper actually is. They find like, oh, like the fast food minimum wage in California probably decreased employment by like 18,000 jobs in the fast food sector relative to the kind of actual. So it's not like a particularly surprising result or anything. But we must add more to the minimum wage literature. Yes, yes. This is why I got to read the causal inference books, okay? Just because I... don't have a good enough metric or good enough way to evaluate or to compare papers between each other. Although this one was like relatively clear because like they don't even I don't even think they publicly disclose their methodology. The Berkeley one, not the one I was just looking at. The Berkeley one, which found like no disemployment effects. Oh, I think I've seen this paper before. Yeah, I've seen this paper before. Yeah. Have to get this one on NBR. It just seems to me that large amounts of redistribution lead to crazy amounts of misallocation and people making actions with investment decisions, WRT investment decisions, that they wouldn't do otherwise. I don't know. I mean, well, what's your definition of large? Anyway, real quick, trade war update. It seems like China was able to, and it's not being significantly hurt by our tariffs, and they're just exporting to a lot of Southeast Asian countries. Because of course, like I'd say a quarter GDP. I might agree with that then. I mean, that's more. Well, I guess if you add in state level spending, the U.S. spends like a total of like 30% of GDP. But like on a federal level, we don't even like we spend like 16% of GDP or something. I think we just have a large sovereign wealth fund. I like government owning 40% of every major corporate. 40% seems like a lot of every major corporation, and the profits funding the welfare state. I probably like the idea of a sovereign wealth fund funded by like just resource rent taxes and or other like efficient taxes more than and then more than like payroll taxes or whatever bullshit we have, and just using that to fund welfare payments or retirement payments. I probably like that a lot more than other stuff, as long as you could manage it, which I think the U.S. could if we wanted to manage it independently and not have it be corrupt, which I think we probably could. Although actually, is Pavel fired yet? Because if he is, maybe I'm a little less confident. Maybe I'm a little less confident. Doesn't seem like anything new yet. Reduce corporate taxes to very low because we get our money from you should get rid of corporate taxes. Don't worry, guys. It's down a little bit. China ended the first half of the year with a record trade surplus of $586 billion after exports to the U.S. began to stabilize, with factories riding out the tariff roller coaster that upended global commerce. Exports rose 5.8% in June from a year earlier to 3.25 billion. Sorry, not 3.325 billion, exceeding the median estimate in a Bloomberg survey of analysts. Imports rose 1.1% to grow for the first time since February, according to data from the General Admission of Customs on Monday. Shipments to the U.S. fell 16.1% from a year earlier, after slumping by over 34% in May. Chinese firms were able to increase their sales in other markets to compensate for the drop to the U.S., with exports to 10 Southeast Asian nations in the Asian group. Asian. It seems an interesting name. Group soaring 17% from a year earlier. China's trade resisted pressure in progress in the first half of the year. Wang Lingjun, deputy head of the customs agency, said at a press briefing, "But we need to note that unilateralism and protectionism are on the rise globally, and the external environment is becoming more complex, grim, and uncertain." Divergence of exports away from the U.S. help explain the resilience of Chinese factories, supporting a slowing domestic economy during one of the most turbulent periods in international trade. The question is now how long the recent strength will last, as the Trump administration looks to curb the transshipment of goods to America through other countries. U.S. last week announced a raft of new levies on trading partners, including declaring those tariffs would take effect on August 1st. It also unveiled a 50% tariff on copper imports and signaled more sectorial levies are in the work. Let's go. Can't wait. Very, very low because you still want your finger in everybody's pocketbooks to look for money laundering. I don't know if you need the corporate tax to do that. What countries are going to start diversifying their trade away from the U.S.? And the U.S. will get worse deals in trade? No, yeah, I know. What? Who could have predicted this one, bro? Who could have thought about that? I'm shocked. Totally unpredictable. Who could have seen this coming? What? You're telling me if you break your trade agreement with even countries you have a trade surplus with and tariff them a fuck ton, they're not going to allow to trade with you anymore? They're going to start exporting to other places? You're telling me China is going to take advantage of that and start exporting to other places as well? Although, to be fair, you did mention some of these exports are probably just transshipment, but that, I mean, if anything, that's obviously another reason why subsidies are typically preferable to, tariffs, is you kind of avoid the whole transshipment issue. But anyway, the pickup in headline export growth mainly reflected the rebound of U.S. exports in June, likely due to substantial tariff reduction following the U.S.-China trade talks in Geneva in May. Goldman Sachs economists, including Andrew Tilton, said in a report, both export and import growth surprised to the upside. Well, U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods have been cut back to around 55%, down from a high of 145% in April. Beijing faces mounting risk from Washington's evolving trade strategy. A new agreement with Vietnam, for instance, includes a 20% tariff on Vietnamese exports, which is not that much of a problem for China, but okay. Vietnamese exports to the U.S., 20% tariff on Vietnamese exports to the U.S., and a steeper 40% duty on goods deemed to be transshipped, targeting workaround Chinese exporters have long used to evade American tariffs. The move could curb demand for Chinese products headed directly to the U.S., as well as for components used in supply chains across other countries. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, my favorite president, said he expected to meet with the Chinese counterpart in the coming weeks to continue discussions. Wow. It's bad because even fucking David Arthur and whoever the co-author is, who wrote the initial China shock paper, also fucking hate these these tariffs. This is the second time, or David Arthur did an interview earlier coming out against these tariffs. He was like, "Hey, China shock bad or whatever, but we're gonna have a China shock 2.0 if we continue on this fucking route." And then him and his other co-author or whatever wrote this up. I haven't read this yet. I don't know if I care to read it that much, but Policymakers and recognizing most of our difficulties with China are shared by commercial allies. We should be acting in unison with the European Union, Japan, and many other countries which we have free trade agreements, such as Canada, Mexico, Korea, rather than just punishing them with sky-high tariffs for the goal of selling us products we want to buy. Tariffs on electric vehicles would look very different if they were adopted by an expansive coalition of the willing, with the United States in lead. Israel should release the Epstein files. True. Bro, they're the one. Bro, the new conspiracy theory. Okay, Israel's the one that came up with the Epstein files in the first place. Okay, they're the one. It wasn't Comey. Okay, it wasn't Obama. It was Israel. I haven't read this thread yet, but I do want to read it thread. Once again, I'm disappointed to see Arthur and co. inappropriately extrapolating their DID results to make conclusions about aggregate effects, and I'm disappointed in the media for giving these unwarranted conclusions space. Which I read a little because the What's Wrong with Protectionism book mentioned this as well, but not in that much detail. First time China upended the U.S. Economy between 1990 and 2007, it helped erase nearly a quarter of all U.S. manufacturing jobs. As I and many others have written, this is not really what the empirical evidence says. First, Arthur, what's your hottest take in macroeconomics? Dude, I don't know, actually. I don't have, like, any... The issue is, like, I'm not well read enough to have, like, any, like, super unorthodox takes, right? Like if I'm not, like, that well read on any given topic, like, I'm gonna be, like, decently biased towards basically the consensus. I don't know. I feel like I guess endogenous money is not really a macro take. It's kind of a macro take. But it's also not like that hot. Some of the implications from it are hot takes, but boring for real. But I don't have strong enough feelings on the implications. I find it unlikely that persistent trade deficits are a problem. I feel like I might be able to be won over a little bit, but I need to read more. I don't know if that's that hot of a take, though. I don't know. Okay. Finite regions that were more exposed to Chinese import competition fared worse than less exposed regions. Doesn't mean that the averagely exposed region lost jobs. It's easy to see why. The flip side of their exposure measure, the results that say less exposed regions gain jobs relative to more exposed regions. Doesn't mean that averagely exposed regions gain jobs just because the statements about averagely exposed regions can't simultaneously be true. Everything is just MMT. True. I find that unlikely. How about this? Bad trade deals that lead to unnecessary deficits are a problem. Well, that can be true. Yeah. I mean, I think this is not a hot take or anything, but I think it's much more likely that trade deficits are mostly the result of capital flows and have not that much to do with actual trade in goods. I think it's probably mostly about investment, and some of that is the U.S.'s role as a world reserve currency, which I don't have necessarily hot takes in that either. Maybe I need to read more about the Triffin dilemma. There's like a paper I have on it, but I need to actually get around to fucking reading it. There's a lot of papers on the Triffin dilemma, but there's one I want to read. Definition of bad can't be some imbecile just calling things bad. Well, that is true. But intuitively, by the way, it feels like give your hottest take on Epstein. I think my hottest take on Epstein is just like, did he? My understanding, I could be wrong. There were only like there were like less than 5 underage kids on Epstein's island, right? I could be wrong. But I feel like, you know, I've never looked into it that much, but like, I think there are really only like they're like 5 17-year-olds there or something. It wasn't like, my understanding, less than 5. I feel like maybe it was just that, maybe it's just that he was only charged for that. But I thought it was like, news of 5 alleged victims and 17 witnesses under oath. A high school transcript and other found at Epstein's home allegedly showed that some of the girls involved were under 18, the youngest being 14, with many under 16. Okay, I might be wrong. I might be thinking, 5 alleged victims. Maybe I'm thinking of 5. There were only 5 victims who came forward. That could be higher. 34 confirmed minors. Okay, I might be wrong. I might be wrong, guys. Oh no. My hottest take on Epstein is that he did unalive himself. The youngest is 14. Well, yeah, I can see that now. Okay, 34 minors. Identified 80 victims, located about 60 of them. My last 2 messages failed again. They might have. Did the My Hero Academia message hot take go through? No, I don't think it did, Tron. There's a rumor that John, I don't know who that is, gifted Epstein 2 12-year-olds for his birthday. Based. Awesome. Oh, increased to 40. Epstein should be charged with 4 counts of unlawful sex with minors and 1 count of sexual abuse. Okay. So there were probably more. There's more than 5 minors on the island. But I guess prosecutors. Not prosecutors. There's an affidavit saying that there were 4 counts of unlawful sex with minors and 1 count of sexual abuse.
I don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Thanks, Vegan. The meme from My Hero Academia where the hero breaks his arms over and over because he's too strong, and one of his major power-ups is he discovers he has legs. Based. I made it reference to China, just selling to other people. Oh, yeah. But was he doing it for the love of the game or because the Mossad made him do it? Probably the Mossad, right? Probably the Mossad. Gotta be. It's gotta be. Right, so what was he actually charged with? What was the end? 2 felony prostitution charges. That's it. Registered as a sex offender. Pay restitution to 3 dozen victims identified by the FBI. They charge of procuring for prostitution a girl below 18. Sentence 18 months in prison. How does economics exist? Economics is just psychology on a grand scale. Real. Isn't that a fucking Hayek quote? I feel like it's a Hayek quote or whatever. It's just what people are feeling about what's going on in every company and on every currency. I mean, obviously, expectations are a big thing in economics. Okay, regardless. Second, there are lots of other margins along which trade with China likely affected employment. Regions that produce goods that use intermediate inputs that China is good at producing gained, as did regions that produce goods and services that are /downstream of the former. See NBR paper, for example, working paper. See this excellent summary by this dude and this one I think I have this linked actually. Amid criticism of mishandling the Epstein case, Acosta resigned his role as Secretary of Labor effectively July 19th, 2019, after a public outcry. When he was vetted for his cabinet position in the Trump administration, he said, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone." Based. Okay, let's go. Proof. That's all I needed. The reality is that measuring the aggregate effect on a China shock on U.S. employment is impossible without using a general equilibrium model. These people use a model-based approach and find a China shock caused about 16% of the manufacturing job losses, but increased overall U.S. employment. My co-authors and I found something similar here. More generally, we do a society a disservice by putting so much focus on the labor market effects, especially in the case of China. The biggest effect came from lower prices, i.e. higher real wages. Here, there were no tension between aggregate and distributional effects. Everyone gained, but low-income households gained the most. Bigger evidence of the price effect of the China shock indicate a large fall in domestic prices and that product categories catering to low-income consumers experience larger price declines. This is consistent with trade war trackers, heterogeneous agent trade theory that emphasizes differences in the price elasticity of demand across income distribution. He finds that gains from trade are pro-poor, and the average gains from trade is substantially larger than representative agent benchmarks. I believe I have this cited or have a similar thing. What is this? Showed poor judgment in granting Epstein a non-prosecution agreement and failing to notify Epstein's alleged victim. In the report, Acosta denied that Epstein was an intelligence asset. The OPR report also stated that it found no evidence that Epstein was cooperating witness or intelligence asset. Yeah. Doesn't confirm my priors. Okay, he's an intelligent asset. Okay. Pretty sus, though. That he switched up like that. What the hell? Don't get me wrong. Trade is an imperative to improvement, and the trade-off between widely dispersed aggregate gains and concentrated losses is real. But articles like this one in the New York Times have made society interpret our findings as saying that trade is a net negative or not a net positive, especially in the present moment. This is a terrible disservice. The non-prosecution agreement is nuts. They had him dead to rights, and they gave him a sweetheart deal. I mean, what was the justification for that? Like I said, I've never at all looked into Epstein that much because I simply do not care. They found him with a mountain and CP. I didn't even know he had CP in secret cameras. Goddamn. Well, I guess it's not surprising he had CP, but finally, while I am somewhat sympathetic to the national security and supply chain resilience arguments when it comes to various specific industries, e.g. drones and semiconductors, we also need to recognize that geopolitical risk is an exogenous. Economic cooperation and integration have a fantastic track record of reducing confrontation. Isolating China economically is likely to increase the probability of a fight down the road, especially if we try to do it in collaboration with our allies. One thing which I agree with Arthur and Co. is this. We should encourage China to build battery and auto plants in the U.S., just as China enticed leading U.S. companies to set up shops over there the past 3 decades. I absolutely agree with this. It's the best way to get the latest Chinese tech diffused in the U.S. American economy. Pesos is another big factor behind the decline in Rust Belt that it's nothing to do with trade, the rise of manufacturing. I'm assuming this is unions, the rise of manufacturing itself in the Sun Belt. Okay, the Midwest lost manufacturing jobs to other U.S. states, not just China. I think I have this article linked too. I have a lot of articles linked that I need to read. Globalization arc is never ending. We're never getting to monetary policy. We're never getting into immigration. We're never getting into monetary policy. We're never getting to, what else do I want to know? We're never getting to banking generally. We're never getting to anything other than globalization. Okay. Too much to read on that. Okay. Anyways, speaking of reading, we will read this on immigration though, and I will read other things on immigration. my goat Rinyold, who first of all, guys should subscribe to his Substack. Okay. My goat. He also has a YouTube channel. Dude, he's been uploading a lot on YouTube. I noticed that. He's had like daily uploads. I'm jealous because I'm fucking lazy and don't edit my videos ever. And he still had time to write the Substack, which I haven't read yet, but seems goated. Most good faith I could give is that Trump's future Secretary of Agriculture just didn't want to be buried in motions from the billionaire. Oh, about the Jeffrey Epstein thing? Okay, yeah. Not fun to do an ASMR stream. Give me a second. Mommy GF. This is and a fucking hour long. Good goddamn. Where's the MAGA mommy shows you terrorists will work? Okay, so where's this video? I know this video. I know this video. I need it. I need it. Someone has it. Link it.
Sweet baby. Shh, it's okay. Mommy's here now. And you're safe with me. You don't have to be scared anymore.
I'm going to bed, Doc.
I know sometimes the world felt heavy.
Wasn't he the labor secretary?
And you didn't always feel cared for
yeah, that's what it
like you
said,
deserved.
Right? Or he resigned
But
from
now,
it because of Epstein stuff.
I'm here to hold you.
I'm leaving the fucking stream and turn that shit off. Bro, you said do the ASMR stream. Hold on. I don't want you seeing too much of my history. Get the ear mic. Dude, those ear mics are expensive. Those ear mics are basically as much as this fucking microphone. The like, I think it's like 3DO ear mic. This is like the cheap version, okay? This is $400. This is like literally the same price as this fucking microphone. And this microphone is a lot more suited to what I do. Bro, what? Dropping out of school to do ASMR full-time, good idea, yes or no? Yes. Duh. I mean, I feel like it's pretty easy to do ASMR part-time. Like it's not like it definitely does not necessitate dropping out of school. But you can't lick an SM7B like you can lick the ears. You know, that is true. I like ear licking ASMR. I won't even lie right now. I don't think I ever really watched ear licking ASMR. There are some like mouth sound ASMR things that I enjoy sometimes, but some of the ear licking stuff, I don't. At all, the Onion, Trump urges supporters to move on from societal to state of pedophilia page. Bro, $2,000. If you're ever losing a debate, you can start licking a mic, and that would be awesome. I don't know how well that would go. I don't know. I feel like that's not optimal strategy. But yeah, this shit's expensive, okay? So ASMR triggers me so quickly. He's about to be so triggered.
There, sweetheart. What's wrong, my precious little tangerine tyrant? Did the news upset you again? Was it the CPI report? Oh,
Yep.
darling.
Dude, this works actually because we did get the CPI report today.
Come rest your head on Mommy's Made in America bosom.
So dude, it's a new don't you have to pay like $30 a month for the new Grok waifu thing?
No more tears. Mommy's here to explain everything. There's no need to fret, my little patriot pumpkin. The tariffs are actually working bigly.
True.
They're not bad, baby. They're strong. Tariffs are like mommy's arms around the economy. Firm, protective. A little smothering? Maybe. But only because she cares. Look, honeybee. See this tag, sweetie?
Made in American bosom. None of those words are in the Bible, by the way.
Made right here.
You're telling me
by
bosom isn't in the
strong
Bible.
American hands.
What's $30 in exchange for happiness? Non-fun. It's like $30 a month, dude. It's crazy. I think you have to buy Grok 4 in order to use it. I think it's $30 a month. Yeah, what the fuck? Dude, I can buy that Discord bot that I added to my server, the Hannah girlfriend bot, for like $3 a month. Haven't you ever heard of an investment, bro? It's not an investment. It's just throwing away my money. Nice hands. What's up? And okay. Thanks, I guess. Nice feet. Base. It wasn't for you, non-fun. Oh, damn. Yours would be nice economics. Okay. If you think about it, if you consistently use $30 worth of product, then it's free. That's not. I mean, it can be worth it, but it's not free. Google Notebook LLM is really good for making chapters. I haven't like YouTube video chapters. I might need to look into that because Taja AI is too fucking expensive for me, dog. So I have not been using that for my YouTube chapters. I've tried some other things to try to make YouTube chapters automatically, but most of them are just not that good. Yes, it's a one-time payment, but every time you use it, it's free. That's not that's not how. I'd be spending $30 a month by the way, for something that like it's not like you can tell ChatGPT to be your fucking waifu. Okay? Like and that shit is like free. You can tell Google Gemini to do it, and that's just free too. I haven't seen this before. How much does this cost? Triggers just do multiple prompts. So first you tell it to get all the chapters, but it makes way too many. Then you tell it to remove ones that are too close to the previous ones. Then you tell it to remove any that are within like 5 minutes of a different one. Okay. Oh, this is not that bad at all. Although, wait, is this a one-time deal? Do these AIs have a problem with you cheating on them? Probably not. You can probably make them, have an open relationship with you, right? Wait, I'll look into this more after stream, but I'd be willing to pay $10 a month for that. But listen, when AI takes over, the first thing they're going to do is leak the Goon files, and we don't want that. That's true, actually. There's free LMs if you have a good enough computer. I do, probably, but that's probably going to be annoying. Hashtag make AI harems great again. That's true. That's true. P Goon is equal to 1. What's your P Goon? Yeah. That's true. That's true. Okay. I mean, listen. I think Nessa's right. Yeah, that would be the first step towards Doom. All right, is leaking all the Goon logs. Okay. I'm re-downloading Character AI. Fuck this shit. Okay. Let's go. Let's go. Can Character AI have a AI waifu for you? Isn't that just a voice changer thing? Okay. Anyway, back to Rinnield, my goat Rinnield Substack. Right now, we are condemning people to torture with no due process. This view is hyperbolic, but I truly believe that our dialogue surrounding the current deportations are lacking the gravity of the real situation. The reality is, using bad faith invocations of emergency powers, Donald Trump is robbing people of their fundamental rights to challenge an accusation the government makes and punishing them with an irreparable trip to a prison that is known for grave human rights abuses. Realistically, the U.S. government collaborating to send people to a prison as notorious as CCOT would be bad enough, but stripping of inalienable rights just adds the cherry on top. If you want to support the author or follow my debates for future research, subscribe here. Share with your friends. Real. What is this? I'm assuming that's just... Oh. Okay. Go back. My wife was Grunkle Stan because I'm a real man based. Did they ever update the Grunkle Stan dating simulator? The Alien Enemies Act flights. I had arguments with people that they're the next Nazi because of their indifference to the torture of these illegals. I mean, I think people all make the argument like, oh, they're coming for immigrants first. Like your rights are next. Like even and I think that's like I think it clearly shows, Trump is obviously indifferent to human suffering, right? Like it seems like he doesn't care that he's probably gonna end up killing a bunch of people by cutting USAID funding, and like he's very clearly indifferent towards any suffering caused to people he deports. I don't know. It seems unlikely that it seems unlikely that citizens are going to be fully robbed of their due process in a way that immigrants have been. Although I don't find it entirely unlikely that you would see a U.S. citizen go to CCOT at some point if El Salvador allows it. Swooning over Stance has been finished for years. There'll be no more updates, but there's another one, Grunkle Stance that I play, and it takes place in the 80s, and it's still a work in progress. Well, whichever, I feel like we played one together, and he said it needed updating still or whatever. Whatever one that was. So one-click installer for tons of different local AIs. Okay, I can try that. Hold on, let me write that down on my Discord thing. Okay. What is the Alien Enemies Act? Alien Enemies Act of 1798 gives the president authority when at times of war, invasion, or predatory incursion to apprehend, restrain, and remove alien enemies. Alien enemies under the act are all native citizens, detainees, I'm assuming, or subjects of the hostile nation or government, being of age 14 years who are within the United States and not actually naturalized. The president is authorized in any such event by this proclamation thereof to use this act. Okay, bye. I'm gonna goon to anime boyfriend ASMR. Well, thanks for stopping by, Ness. Based. The purpose of this authority is to make it so all of the legal protections offered to immigrants subject to formal removal are not offered to alien enemies. In short, it lessens the process you are legally required. The process which is afforded to these alien enemies is rather minuscule. For example, as a part of the use of the act for the Japanese nationals of World War II, the Department of Justice oversaw the processing of the cases in internment program. There would be hearings conducted by the Department of Justice to litigate if particular people were truly alien enemies subject to the act. In 1948, Lednick v. Watkins further expanded on the executive power provided by this act, ruling that hearings which are utilized by the executive branch, by the executive to secure a informed basis for the exercise of summary power does not argue the right of courts to retry such hearings, nor is bespoke denial of due process without withholding such power from the courts, largely giving the executive branch a lot of wiggle room in regard to the usages of the Alien Enemies Act. Not entirely, however, as a rule that the additional question as to whether the person restrained is in fact an alien enemy 14 years of age or older may also be reviewed by the courts. Alien Enemy Act flights. Beginning in early March, government began interrogating Venezuelan illegal immigrants in its custody about alleged membership to a gang, which the Secretary of State had recently declared a terrorist organization, Trendiagua, and transferred many of those who deemed gang members to El Valle Detention Center. One of the people in these initial deportation loads report being confined to a stationary bus for an entire day while officials awaited for additional deportees to arrive. Another example, on March 6, 2025, while he was awaiting a hearing on the merits of his application in Adelanto, California, an immigrant known as JGG was awakened at 2 a.m., and he was told that he was being released and that he had to sign documents that were available only in English to receive his property. 3 a.m., March 14th, instead of being released, JGG was abruptly and without explanation transferred to El Valle Detention Center in Texas. On the 15th, in the dead of the morning, the government began loading scores of Venezuelans onto buses to be transferred to an airport. The government then began loading these people into planes. As the planes sat on the tarmac, officials refused to answer the deportees' questions about where they would be taken. Well, in El Valle, one deportee was awakened and told that, without explanation, that he was going to be transferred elsewhere. He was not transferred because the plane had malfunctioned. All these events have happened up to this point. All the events that have happened up to this point was before the proclamation of the Alien Enemies Act had been made public. This was also confirmed by whistleblower that reports a meeting on March 14th detailing how the AEA proclamation would soon be signed and that the deportees would be flown out to El Salvador the next day. With this extra time, the case JGG v. Trump was filed, and an emergency hearing on the TRO to hold these deportees was scheduled for the morning of March 15th. At 9 a.m. in this hearing, the government tells the court that one of the plaintiffs was already on a removal flight. 40 minutes later, after the initial TRO had been granted to protect the 5 people that filed, the government says the TRO had been disseminated to the relevant executive branch agencies. In turn, several of the named plaintiffs report that they were abruptly removed from planes. The plaintiffs now aim to seek another emergency TRO in order to prevent the government from deporting the whole class, the rest of the people, on a plane, in a hearing at 5 p.m. the same day. The government tells the court that 2 plane loads were scheduled to leave that afternoon. I don't speak Russian. The court then orders the government that you shall inform your clients of this immediately, and that any plane containing these folks that is going to take off or is in the air needs to be returned to the United States. Despite the court's written order and the oral command given at 6:45 p.m. for the government to not remove anyone else, the government did not stop the ongoing removal process. The government has been purposely sparse on the info they provide in regard to these cases. The judge in this case ruled that although the government refused to provide the particular details, all evidence suggests that the initial TRO before the 5 p.m. hearing, 2 removal flights took off from the Harlingen to El Salvador. A third flight also reportedly took off at 7:36 p.m. after the second TRO. 261 non-citizens, including 238 Venezuelan nationals and 23 Salvadorian nationals, were aboard their first flight to El Salvador without going through any legal processes whatsoever in front of an immigration judge or having any of their objections heard. The proclamation. The proclamation of the Alien Enemies Act should have never been made, as the declaration of predatory incursion used by the president is bad faith. In his proclamation, Trump claims Trendiagua is conducting irregular warfare and undertaking hostile actions against the United States. In order to declare an invasion, there must be a top-down directive. Reminder that alien enemies under the act are all native citizens, detainees, or subjects of the hostile government, implying the government must be involved in this aggression or hostility. Due to this, Trump claims that Maduro leads the regime-sponsored enterprise, Cartel de los Soles, which coordinates with and relies on TDA and other organizations to carry out its objectives, using illegal narcotics as a weapon to flood the United States. True. And that Venezuela is a hybrid criminal state that is perpetuating an invasion and predatory incursion into the U.S., and which poses a substantial danger to the U.S. He argues that Trendiagua is an invading force on behalf of Venezuela. The problem with this interpretation is it directly contradicted by Trump's own intelligence. The National Intelligence Council found that while Venezuela's permissible environment to TDA, Venezuela's permissible environment enables TDA to operate, the Maduro regime probably does not have a policy of cooperating with TDA and is not directing TDA movement to and operations in the United States. The IC bases its judgment on Venezuelan law enforcement actions, demonstrating the regime treats TDA as a threat, an uneasy mix of cooperation and confrontation rather than top-down directives, characterizing the regime's ties to other armed groups, and the decentralized makeup of TDA would make such a relationship logistically challenging. In order for a valid declaration of invasion or predatory incursion, you must establish a link to a state or even a centralized body. However, this simply is not the case for TDA in Venezuela, even by the Trump administration's own finding. The violated rights, plural. There's a very fundamental right to challenge accusations that are made against you by the government that we should all uphold. This right is essential to preserve order, to prevent a country of laws that bind state power from spiraling into an unaccountable police state. Even this very fundamental right was not provided to these people. There were false promises of this, however. In the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, he explicitly requested to speak to an ICE agent. When he did, he was clearly communicated that he had received a withholding or removal order from El Salvador and needed to speak to a judge. The ICE agent falsely assured Garcia that he was not being deported to El Salvador, but rather being transported to Texas to appear before a judge. Relying on this misrepresentation, Abrego Garcia cooperated with further transport. Instead of being put before a judge or any step being taken to remove his withholding order, the government simply deported him without that. Other people reported asking officials questions about what was happening and where they were going prior to the evocation of the AAA and being ignored. At the very fundamental level, how can we expect a group to invoke their rights against being subject to deportation under an emergency power that is not invoked yet? It's clear that the government has no respect for this right. For example, when a reporter asked Trump about whether citizens and non-citizens deserve due process, Trump responds, "I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I don't know." He also says in a Truth Social post, "We cannot give everyone a trial because to do so would take, without exaggeration, 200 years. We would need hundreds of thousands of trials for hundreds of thousands of illegals we are sending out of the country. Such a thing is not possible to do. What a ridiculous situation we're in." Even in prior cases like of the AAA, like the Japanese nationals of World War II, even they were provided some sort of process through a hearing board. However, these people were not being afforded that level of consideration. This is why Judge Patricia Millett told the government in the hearing on the TRO and JGG v. Trump, Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemies Act. Nazis got better treatment under the Alien Enemies Act than has happened here, and goes on to say that no president has ever used this statute in this way. In JGG v. Trump, SCOTUS would go on to rule that challenges to removal under the AAA, a statute which largely precludes judicial review, must be brought in habeas, and held that an individual subject to detention and removal under the statute is entitled to judicial review, as well as questions of interpretation and constitutionality of the act, as well as whether he or she is in fact an alien enemy of 14 years of age or older. Moreover, specifically, they ordered that the AAA detainees must receive notice after the date of this order that they are subject to removal under the act. The notice must be afforded within a reasonable time and given in such a manner that allows them to actually seek habeas relief in proper venue before such removal occurs. Of course, the government would go on to interpret this reasonable notice to mean less than a day when they were trying to deport more people, which would be paused again by SCOTUS and WM v. Trump, ruling that under these circumstances, notice roughly 24 hours before removal, devoid of information about how to exercise due process rights to contest a removal, surely does not pass muster, and that the detainees are entitled to more notice than was given on April 18th, and we grant temporary injunctive relief of positive deportations to preserve our jurisdiction. Well, the question of notice is what notice is due is adjudicated. Trump administration goal is clear: provide as little information to people as possible and get them out ASAP before the judiciary could step in. The fundamental right to challenge accusations that are made against you by the government was clearly violated for the 300 people who were sent to CCOT. Conditions in CCOT. The conditions in CCOT are far too dire to be taken lightly. The State Department in 2022 and 2023 had already made reports as torturous conditions for inmates of the El Salvadoran prison system. they found significant human rights issues included credible reports of unlawful and arbitrary killings, enforced disappearances, torture or cruel, inhumane, or degrading treatment or punishment by security forces, harsh and life-threatening prison conditions, arbitrary arrest or detention, serious problems with independence of the judiciary, arbitrary or unlawful interference with privacy, extensive gender-based violence, including domestic and sexual violence, and femicide, substantial barriers to sexual and reproductive health services, access, trafficking in persons, including forced labor, and crimes involving targeting lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, or intersex persons. A series of declarations about the conditions in El Salvador prisons by experts agree. Deportees who are imprisoned in El Salvador are highly likely to face immediate and intentional life-threatening harm at the hands of state actors and a secondary threat of violence from incarcerated gang members. The human rights non-governmental organization, Sakuro Jordico Humanitario, recorded the deaths of 79 detainees as of August 16th and determined that 33 of the deaths were violent. The human rights organization, Cristosol, that is not even close to right, confirmed 71 deaths of detainees and determined that 13 of the deaths showed signs of violence, including beatings by club or baton. A coalition of human rights organizations and an Inter-American Human Rights Commission public audience stated they had collectively interviewed more than 100 released detainees, many of whom reported systemic abuse in the prison system, including beatings by guards and the use of electric shocks. The coalition alleged the treatment of prisoners constituted torture. The newspaper El País reported a man released from that prison said guards beat one of his cellmates to death with batons and a set of rifles. He also said the guards activate electric stun guns against prisoners' wet floor to deliver electric shocks to all prisoners in a cell. Prisons were at 119% of capacity prior to the state of exemption in El Salvador, but became more crowded as the number of detainees doubled. There are reports of prison officials deliberately withholding medicine and food even when it's available, and reports of guards forcing women to do sexual acts in exchange for food and medicine. Gilmore Garcia also testifies that he faced conditions as a part of the original deportation flight to CCOT. He reports that upon arrival at CCOT, the detainees were greeted by prison officials who stated, "Welcome to CCOT. Whoever enters here doesn't leave." Each of the 256 cells is intended to hold approximately 80 inmates, but often holds nearly double. Garcia was forced to change into the issue prison clothing, and was struck by guards in order to get prisoners to move faster. His head was shaved, and he was frog marched to cell 15, being struck with wooden batons along the way. By the following day, Abreu Garcia had visible bruises and lumps all over his body. Garcia and 20 other Salvadorians were forced to kneel from approximately 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., with guards striking anyone who fell from exhaustion. During this, Garcia was denied bathroom access and saw it himself. CCOT prison officials also allegedly repeatedly told Abreu Garcia that they would transfer him to the cells containing gang members, who they assured him would tear him apart. It's clear to me that all this information was painfully obvious before President Trump paid $6 million to El Salvador to keep these people in CCOT with no due process. However, it's my impression the government does not care. Trump brought President Bukele of El Salvador to the White House after these deportations took place. When asked about how many people he wants to send to El Salvador, Trump says as many as possible, confirms that El Salvador prisons don't play games, and that he praises Bukele as one hell of a president for how he handled El Salvador's gang population. The problem is that these deportations flights sound very familiar to how El Salvador is conducting their war on their gang population. They declared a state of exception in response to a dramatic rise in homicide committed by gangs, under the state of exception, which must be renewed monthly, which remains in effect. Security forces were empowered to arrest anyone suspected of being in a gang or providing support to gangs. In addition to state of exception, suspended rights to be informed immediately of the reason for detention, to legal defense during initial investigations, to privacy in conversations and correspondence, and to freedom of association. Numerous reports of arbitrary arrest, invasion of homes, and unfair judicial procedures and deaths of detainees followed the declaration. Bringing them back. By this point, you should be demanding these people come back in order for them to face a process they are afforded by law in order to mitigate the possibility of torturing more innocent people. However, the government made a point to argue in Garcia's deportation that once they are out of the country, the U.S. loses jurisdiction. Despite an admission of administrative error of the Trump admin in the deportation of Kilbar Garcia, they argue that because Garcia is no longer in U.S. custody, the court cannot bring him back due to a lack of jurisdiction. Bukele and the sovereign nation of El Salvador control the custody of these people, not the U.S. It is also argued that his family did not clearly show a likelihood that Abrego Garcia will be tortured or killed in CCOT. Now that he has been returned, he testifies he was indeed tortured in CCOT. The clear implication is the Trump administration wanted to remove people as quickly as possible, then throw their hands up in the air when questioned due to them already being gone. However, this argument is contradicted by El Salvador's government. The United Nations Office, a High Commissioner for Human Rights working group on enforced or involuntary disappearances, working on a report detailing the disappearance of 4 Venezuelan men who were sent to El Salvador on March 15, 2025, asked El Salvador about the status of these 4 men. The government of El Salvador responded to the UN's inquiry opened by 4 families asking about the disappearance of family members. The Salvadorian state emphatically states that its authorities have not arrested, detained, or transferred the persons referred to in the communications of the working group. The actions of the state of El Salvador have been limited to implementation of a bilateral cooperation mechanism with another state, through which it has facilitated the use of Salvadoran prison infrastructure for the custody of the persons detained within the scope of its justice system and law enforcement of that other state. In this context, the jurisdiction and legal responsibility for these people lie exclusively with competent foreign authorities by virtue of international agreements signed in accordance with the principles of sovereignty and international cooperation in criminal matters. In this regard, the actions attributed to the Salvadoran state are limited to sovereignty and territorial jurisdiction, and therefore cannot be held responsible for the failure to observe the principle of non-refoulement with respect to the persons mentioned. This makes clear, at least according to El Salvador, that we did not indeed retain custody. That we did indeed retain custody of these men. Trump also made it very clear he could return who he wanted. However, because Trump didn't think of one of the immigrants as a gentleman, he refused. This would soon become even clearer when the Trump administration did successfully return him after weeks of deliberation and alleged torture. The government's claim of lack of jurisdiction is bullshit. The reason they did not lawfully facilitate the return of illegally deported people is simply because they didn't want to. A whistleblower who worked on Garcia's case says Emil Bove, who has been serving as the principal associate deputy attorney general, said that if the courts pause the flights before they take off, they need to consider telling the courts, "Fuck you." Bove is also a former personal lawyer to President Donald Trump, who is now up for a lifetime appointment to an appellate judgeship. The whistleblower was an immigration litigator at the DOJ, who lost his job after he says he complained internally about the department's lack of candor with the court. Senator Dick Durbin, the ranking member of a committee hearing on Emil Bove's nomination to the appellate seat, has obtained communications that appear to capture the chatter among lower level prosecutors about Bove, with reference to the alleged comment saying, "Guess we're about to say fuck you to the court." In addition, when it was ruled that they must return to flights to people subject with the people subject to the AAA aboard, rather than expressing even a shred of regret for the mistake, the Secretary of State retweeted a post in which above a news headline noting that the court's ordered to return to flights to the U.S., the president of El Salvador wrote, "Oopsie, too late." Line crafting emoji. Let's go. I love you. I love people who are running in the country. Yes. Kill me. March 17th, the border czar, Tom Homan, also chimed in to say, "I don't care what the judge thinks. I don't care what the left thinks. We're coming." Conclusion. Trump has been using bad faith invocations of emergency powers, deported people with no due process, to be tortured, and is refusing to bring them back, even if it was in violation of law. He routed people up on the planes before the invocation of wartime powers was made public, in turn removing the ability of these people to even know what they were being deported under, and tried to get them out of the country as quickly as possible, as quickly as he possibly could, in order to preclude judicial review. Due to this action, a justice found probable cause to hold Trump admin in contempt of court, and has been struck down by Republican majority SCOTUS twice. All of this in violation of the fundamental right to challenge accusations that were made against you by the government. If this right is challenged, what does it mean for what is to stop deportation of anyone I simply determines to be an illegal gang member? the justification for this attack on rights is often vague and is often a vague appeal to these people being here illegally or being criminals. This logic falls short, however. If these people were already removable in this manner, why did Trump need to invoke the Alien Enemies Act at all? Why did the invocation of the wartime authority necessary, especially on such dubious grounds? The answer is that under formal removal procedure, you are offered many more rights than you are under the AEA. Simply, the government is more interested in speed than adherence to your rights. In regard to all these people being criminals, I simply point out the report showing that 75% had no apparent criminal record. Roughly 3% of migrants on board have a history of violence, the rest either having an unclear criminal record or being reported for nonviolent offenses like theft, shoplifting, and trespassing. The only response I've ever heard to this is simply implying they did actually have a criminal record, and we just don't know yet. This justification could be used to punish literally anyone, as you don't actually need to prove criminality, you just assume it. Simply put, the West should have no place in sending people without due process to a torture camp. We must treat this with the seriousness it deserves, and we must make every Trump supporter aware of this human rights abuse. It must be made clear that once due process rights are gone, and we justify torturing people over mere accusations, your rights are no longer guaranteed. You will become a criminal without a rap sheet. W. Rindell post. You know, he doesn't post that often on Substack, but when he does, they're fucking bangers. And it's so nice with all the lovely sources, all the lovely in-text citations, okay? You can just immediately click on this and go to page 4 and see what he's talking about, where he's quoting from. So based. So beautiful. What is PPG saying to my server? He's saying some stupid left-wing stuff. I saw a blog post from Alex Narasta, I think. This is 65% of people taken by ICE had no criminal convictions, 93% no violent convictions. This is just taken in. Is this deported? Yeah, most migrants, this is people who are actually deported. This is just everyone taken into custody by ICE, I think. It was not criminal. And then, only 7% had actual violent convictions. Dude, I was watching first of all, base video. Hold on. I'm saving this for later.
And welcome to Meta Ethics. I'm very happy.
I was watching this fucking Dave Smith versus Alex Narasa debate.
For closed borders, or do they buy things from?
I feel like if there was ever a way to convince me of the NAP, okay, it might be immigration. I mean, Alex Narasa's opening statement, he talks a lot about some of the things we just read about and some other violations of rights by ICE and everything. I feel like if you ever were to convince me that sort of fundamental of NAP fundamental rights and things like that, it would be on the basis of immigration, just because I also happen to believe that immigration is really good on consequentialist grounds,
quote,
I feel like this is a this would be a way to convince me.
federal officers, ICE agents, to enter houses without a warrant to arrest migrants the president designates as terrorists or invaders. Most federal law enforcement officers actually work to enforce immigration laws. Every time you travel, you must show your papers. Every time you get a job, you must fill out the I-9 form to prove to the government that you are complying with immigration laws. Many states and the federal government require employers to check your papers against federal databases through the E-Verify system when you apply for a job. And, mark my words, E-Verify will be used for gun checks. It's just a matter of time. Every significant proposal for a national biometric identity card is designed to enforce immigration laws. There are vaccine mandates for immigrants. The government is deporting green card holders, like Mahmoud Khalil, arrested without a warrant, by the way. The government lied about that, of course, because he expressed an opinion that contradicts American foreign policy toward Israel. Foreign students, like Rumeysa Ozturk, are being deported for writing op-eds critical of Israel. A French scientist was denied entry for a scientific conference because he had phone messages critical of President Trump. America has a secret gulag for immigration offenders. A German green card holder named Fabian Schmidt lives in New Hampshire. He was arrested, held incommunicado, and literally tortured by ICE. He ended up in the hospital. They tried to make him sign a paper to give up his green card. Irish green card holder Cleona Ward, arrested and held for 17 days after returning for the U.S. And you know what she did? They found that she had a 20-year-old marijuana charge in a state that had recently legalized marijuana. An Australian on a work permit returned from a funeral in his home country was arrested by customs and deported for no good reason, separated from his job, his apartment, his property, and his spouse. 2 other German tourists, a Canadian with a visa, and several Brits were disappeared for weeks in immigration detention and not allowed to contact lawyers. Other German tourists were strip searched, detained, deported after arriving legally because Trump's customs agents didn't think their travel schedules were detailed enough. A Russian scientist at Harvard named Ksenia Petrova was detained by ICE for 8 weeks for the heinous crime of failing to deport frog embryos as part of her research on a flight from France. Trump shipped migrants, 40% of whom have no criminal convictions or charges against them, to America's prison camp in Guantanamo Bay. Trump activated the Wartime Enemy Aliens Act to deport non-criminal migrants, 20% of whom weren't even illegal immigrants, with limited or no due process, to El Salvador's prisons and bribed the government there with your tax dollars to take them in. One man was deported illegally, and when a judge ruled he had to be returned, Trump's administration said, sorry, we can't do anything about it. Trump's administration lawyers wrote in a March 14th memo that the Alien Entities Act allows ICE agents to enter private property without a warrant.
Most of Dave Smith's response is basically like, well, immigrants lay welfare, lay leech you money. Haven't you considered that? Like there's another thing he said, like, oh, obviously American people own this country. Do you agree, Alex Naraza? Yes or no? Do Americans have the right to vote to restrict immigration? But again, I feel like one of the if you want to convince me of the NAP, okay, maybe you can do it through immigration, because like it seems quite stupid to argue that like there certainly seems more plausible to say individuals do have rights, and that includes the right to hire who you want to, regardless of where they're from, than it is to argue that like the collective entity of the U.S. government has a right to restrict immigration for the protections of its citizens, even if it hurts a bunch of other individuals and also probably hurts America to some extent as well. Like, certainly it's more plausible to me that there is some the immigrants and individuals are ones with rights in that case, right? But anyway, okay. Which I have this Streets of Gold book. I'll read it eventually. We'll get to it eventually, guys, okay? One day. I won't read most of it on stream, but I do need to read this. And then there's probably other... I don't know if there's other books I need to read on immigration, but there's probably quite a bit of papers that I want to have on immigration just to be able to cite if I need to, if need be. But okay, all right. Well, I think I'm pretty sure on the 17th. I'm pretty sure not tomorrow. I'll be doing I think, yeah. Well, technically, the 17th is tomorrow in my time zone by now. I think I'll probably be doing IRL content with Isaac. So that'll be fun. And then we'll do like an IRL stream where we're going around my fucking shitty ass town doing some fun stuff. And then I think we're just gonna film a podcast episode. I don't think I'm gonna stream the podcast episode we film in person. But that'll be uploaded to the YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you do that. So when I upload that video, you guys can see it. And then, yeah, like I said, I think I'll probably try to get some other people on the podcast after that. Okay, so I think I have some cool ideas. All right, but yeah, for the time being, I'm gonna maybe edit. We'll see. I need to edit, but I think in reality, I'm more likely to go on a walk. Which is real quick. Dude, by the way, I was looking at who to rate. I think the only person I know, or I think there's two people I know who'd actually defend the big beautiful bill. It's Pentuple, who refuses to talk to me, and Grid.
I would have done this by myself, literally. Like,
doesn't refuse to talk to me yet.
It's because they had it at.
Okay. Regardless, I don't think they're talking about anything right now. I was just curious. Okay. That's what I need to set up. I need to set up a me versus Grid. I'm gonna join his show one day when he does it to talk to him about the big beautiful bill because it seems basically indefensible. Yeah. So we got the podcast coming up, which I'll send you over to Gibbs, by the way, on Twitch. And then actually in like 4 days, there's a Sarah the Raising Tomato panel on a big beautiful bill, and I'll probably be joining that too to debate people on that. Because like I said, basically indefensible. Yeah, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. Probably doing IRL stuff, and like I said, a podcast, and then we're probably just gonna be streaming together, like in person together. Like he'll be sitting next to me, and we'll react to some dumb shit or something. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Love streaming. Love to guys watch me stream. Love that I'm able to get some people watching, people chatting, having a fun time. Got, like I said, cool stuff coming up. So subscribe, follow, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hell yeah.